hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR. Frequency Radio.
I wanna know, are you true? Can you woo, 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 woo? They don't thug it like I do. Can you woo, 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 woo? I wanna know, are you true? Can you woo, 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 woo? They don't run this like we do. Can you woo, woo, woo? Is it true? Is it deja vu? Is it you? Can I come through and kick it with you? Can we woo, woo, woo? Sniff a little ooh, ooh.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of Freaky Friday right here on Truth Frequency Radio, truthfrequencyradio.com. I'm Joe Joseph. And, of course, we got the KBS crew here tonight. Kev Baker, Marty, Johnny Whistles, and then Popeye is also here as well. And tonight, folks, the subject matter is paranormal. Blah. We'll go through all the stories, go through some stories, personal experiences with paranormal activity. Also get into, I found this independent article, What's It Like to Be Dead? So we'll get into that a little bit as well. And also, I think we're going to try and open up the lines, which will be good. But before we get into any of that, Marty, would you be so kind as to take care of that chat room?
Absolutely. A big shout out to everybody in the chat room over at truthfrequencyradio.com. Your support is appreciated. 46 people so far. Thanks very much. Angel Whispers, Angry Beaver, Ozzy and Zach, BR Bow, Bridgewater, Cave Lady, Dartmoor Dog, D Fishtails, Dutch for Technique, Fag Paper, Gurgs, I'm me, Joe, Johnny, John Titter, Kev T, Lavender, Mac, Matrix Girl, Matt D, Naughty Boy, Noah the Icon, Obsidian, PRC News, Sane One, Scottish John, how are you man? Smug, Stushi, Welsh Ted, Wotan, Popeye, Transpersonals, Dr. Blues, Bag of Chips, Kev, The Truth Script, Big Sigh from an Eye, Meat Dog, Wood Wolf, The Jankles, Silver Fox Dude, Exploit, Crozzer Tricky, Time Lord, Penelope, Alpha Dog, Steve, and hell yeah. So big thank you for tuning in. No matter where you are, whether you're in the chat room or not, or listening to one of the very many streams across the planet, thanks very much.
I can't believe it. Second night on the trot. The best name in the chat room has to go to, wait for it, Mr. Vojankles.
Brilliant.
Go on, Joe. I know you're sitting there trying not to laugh, man. It's not hanger just yet, but I thought we could slip in a Vajangles before we get there.
I figured as such. I knew it was coming. just get it all out.
So what's on the agenda tonight? There's going to be ghosts, UFOs, paranormal.
I think the first thing that we need to do is acknowledge the passing of Mr. Spock.
Live long.
It is Freaky Friday.
Prosper.
Damn
you
it.
know, he did live
Damn
long,
it.
and he did prosper.
Yeah, but okay. Leonard Nimoy or David Rockefeller. How the hell does David Rockefeller still live? How does he do it?
Because there is no justice in this upside down world, Joe.
No, there isn't. Damn it.
He's probably had about 5 head transplants by now, but more of that later.
Gosh,
wasn't it the Wrath of Khan, where at the end he walks into the reactor chamber and he switches everything out and the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. So that's why Spock. Yeah, that's why Spock had to die early, because only evil lasts forever. So they still haven't figured. They have trouble with two things: tribbles and Rockefellers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Leonard Nimoy can't afford dead baby blood.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
Good point. Maybe that would react.
How does Rockefeller stay alive? I mean, how do these people? How does like the Queen Mum? She was what, 101, 102?
Yeah, they feed on the souls
when she died.
of.
No, you can't tell me they don't eat the souls of children.
Oh, hang on, Popeye. If she died.
Oh, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? Who knows?
Good point.
Well, actually, no. I was listening to Ike earlier today, a show he did a couple months ago on Richie Allen's radio broadcast, and he was discussing, and I had never heard this before. This was actually interesting, so I'm gonna have to go look this up a little bit further. But he was talking about how the royals they use like skin, and they duplicate the skin like genetically, and somehow they transfer the energy from one being. Like when the Queen Mum died, only her husk of a body died, the evil energy that was in her didn't. It was like transferred
Well, let's face it. I
to a
mean,
new husk.
with the stuff that they know, Popeye, and the evil that they're into, if there is any way possible for that to happen, that's the kind of characters who are going to be playing those kind of games for sure.
It wouldn't surprise me if it like actually was true, though.
Well, we always hear
It
about
actually
them.
did that.
We hear about them going in for the blood transfusions or whatever it is every so often, but who's to say that it's not for something like that in preparation for some soul transference? And you know, the BBC ran a show not long ago. Now, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but this was about almost, and this ties in with what we're going to be covering first, but it was almost like reverse possession, Popeye. Somebody would die, and what would happen is these characters would come along, men in black, and they would carry out rituals and a spell on people who were alive and sleeping. Now, long story short, this entity, this soul that was in limbo, would then actually use that body like some kind of spacesuit. It would take it over, it would possess it. So, BBC, royal family, hiding things in plain sight. It's not beyond the realms of possibility.
Okay, so this also goes into the next thing. You know, these designer babies that are coming out? Well, now you don't even need a female egg. They can make a baby out of two males' DNAs now. The skin cells.
What?
So here's the problem, right? And this is where it gets shady. If you go down the biblical path, right? So they say that life comes about because God breathes the breath of life into the nostrils, and and then when you die, he takes it back. So if he's not doing it, what's happening there? What are you creating? Are you just creating an empty vessel that could be inhabited by these demonic entities or interdimensional beings?
It's Avatar.
Is that part of the plan?
What, you mean the ones that will be coming through the gateway, which will open
the
up
gateway,
when CERN is turned up to its full tilt?
Yeah, whoever didn't get through last time.
Have you ever talked to Joe? Have you ever talked to our good friend Joe Cowboy about this? He's actually got a very interesting whole take on this. It's kind of the same of pretty much what you said. He views like demonic possession almost like interdimensional avatars. Yeah,
me too. That's the way I feel. It's kind of like, okay, well, if we try to do this in our form, it doesn't work out so well. So these will be like our drones in their world.
But that could also tie in with people who say the chemtrails, they're actually preparing the atmosphere for the return of these characters, these beings, whatever they are.
Is it, or is it perhaps...
Not my conspiracy, but it's one that's out there.
Well, it could be. I mean, if the only thing is what they're spraying. Well, you don't know what they're spraying out there. Hell, it could change at the drop of a hat.
Oh, guys, wait till you see the video I am working on today. I got the most brilliant photographs of. I don't know if you've heard of this, but the black line phenomenon when they're doing the chemtrails. There's a black line above the chemtrail and then projected. Now it must be a good. Who knows how many thousands of feet in front of the actual plane. But how can there be a line projected in front of the plane and above it when the sun, if it's casting a shadow from the chemtrail, the shadow would be below it? Ooh.
I saw that. The picture you posted today,
I'm going to post it in the chat.
I've been seeing a lot of that lately, though. The black and the white ones.
Yeah, but if you go and do your research, the black stuff, they're spraying coal ash.
No, but Popeye, this is like. Well, I'll send.
No, I mean they're poisoning the sky and everything around us by literally there's no reason for it. They're spraying coal.
That shit is toxic too. And let me tell you something. They just had a problem with that here in the Hampton Roads area, where one of the power companies that ran off of the power company had a coal-fired plant, and the dust and the water runoff went and screwed up the water table. And it also messed with there was a golf course and then a residential area. Now, the problem with that stuff, it's extremely carcinogenic. Extremely carcinogenic. So now if they're spraying that stuff in the air and doing all that,
I had Mike Murphy on 2 weeks ago, and I asked him about this on air. I said, look, people have asked me about black chemtrails. I've seen videos on YouTube, but I'm not really this is kind of like a new phenomenon. I said, is that them spraying coal ash? Because he was talking about that they're spraying coal ash, and he said that's exactly when people see black chemtrails, that's them spraying coal ash into the sky. That's nice.
No, Popeye, but look at the two pictures I've posted below, and they are in the chat room. Now, you can see the chemtrail quite clearly. Now, above it, there are two black lines, and then almost the same length in front of the actual plane, the black line is projected. And I've even put, arrows on one of the pictures I've sent as well. And I'll put another one into the chat room where I've inverted the image so it actually becomes quite clearer. What's your take on that, guys? Are you seeing that?
Yeah, I'm seeing it. It's kind of crazy.
And you can go on Google, Marty, and type in chemtrails black line phenomenon. It is talked about, but can I find some kind of reason for it? I certainly can't.
Well, your camera. Remember, the camera lens could be picking up something that you can't see, so it could.
No, you can see it. You can see it with your own eyes, Popeye. You see it.
Oh, can
yourself.
you see it with your own eyes?
Yeah. That's what made me run out the office and get it.
Interesting.
It's weird.
What if it's different layers, Kev, that are already up there?
No,
on
you
their
actually
way
see
down?
it. See that one, the one that's in front of it, John? You see that moving forward, in front, keeping a uniform distance.
Yeah, no, it looks like it's almost like a shadow, but upside down. Like somehow the shadow is being projected.
Well,
onto
if you
the
can
sky.
imagine, you can see right in the top corner, there's a bit of a building, you can just see it. The sun, if you follow that line back up through the building, it's away on that side, but above it, so it should really be a shadow cast down the way, or whatever's
you wouldn't
that.
expect to see the shadow. It almost looks like there's a shadow cast on the sky.
I know,
It's
because
weird.
sometimes you see
That
it
is
when
odd.
there's no clouds as well. And
I don't think that's a black chemtrail. That's something different because the
That's
black
weird.
chemtrails,
It's bizarre.
The black chemtrails look just like that white one, except they're not white; they're black. Like you can clearly see they're spraying coal ash. That's almost like some weird shadowy weird thing. They have shadow people, since we're going to talk about the paranormal, right? Well, maybe it's a shadow chemtrail. I don't know.
crisis chemtrails.
Crisis chemtrails now.
Crisis
This is not good.
chemtrails. Crisis geoengineering. Jesus,
listen.
it's just getting out of control.
No, but I'll
What
tell you
is-
what, right? That is weird. I must admit, that is weird. But Popeye, I thought I was bringing the weirdest stuff to the table tonight. But you, my man.
Wait, hold on. By the way, you're backed up because my girl Jamie, the one I'm going to be talking about the story, I told you guys about off air, all the weird stuff she went through. Her story is one of the things we're going to be talking about the paranormal. She just messaged me and said that she's seen the same things, the shadow lines. I just looked. She
Thank
said
you,
that, yeah.
Jamie. Thank
It's
you very
just
much.
weird, man. What is that, though?
I don't know. That
I've
is
got-
odd as hell.
I've been taking photos of these, Marty, over the years, as you
For a
know.
long time.
You've followed my YouTube, and I've seen these maybe 5 times in my life now, and I have no idea what it is. Marty boy.
Could it be a result of this new space fence thing?
Ooh.
Stuff.
See, this is the thing. There's that many projects at work at once, Marty. How are we meant to differentiate?
Yeah, that's it. You can be sure that there's something going on there, Kev. I know that for a fact.
So watch TruthTube 451 tomorrow for another video. That'll be coming up tomorrow.
Interesting. Well, you're not the only one who's apparently seen them. So that's 2 people that I know of that have seen those little
Popeye,
shadows.
I was able to Google it quite easily. Chemtrails black line phenomenon. But there was nothing that I would bring to the table here tonight and say, look, this is the theory. Because everyone's just like us. How do you get that? Why above it? Why black? Why beyond it? But that's a nice little bit of woo. But Popeye, come on. Let's get into some deep woo. Because that stuff you were playing before the broadcast, the goosebumps were standing up on my arms, man. What is going on?
Yes. Kev was actually literally creeped out.
Well, I did say in the promo for this show, I will not be happy unless people, after the 3 hours, are lying in their beds listening to every little noise while they're lying there contemplating if something's in the closet, under the bed, or if it's just Popeye going to play us some of his crazy stuff.
It's not my stuff. It is real though. Let's just be straight. Let me explain something. Let me give a little bit of a backstory here. Okay. So what you're going to hear and what you're going to hear me talk about and discuss is actually very real. I'll drop a link. You can actually go see her story on this show Sci-Fi puts out called Paranormal Witness, where they go and they interview people that have gone through supposedly, real events like this. And her and her family were interviewed for the show. So I'll drop a link for that YouTube video into the chat. But you guys are all familiar with my girl Jamie, and she gave me permission to talk about this because this is kind of like a freaky thing. Some people don't want this stuff public, but what she went through is very real. So what she went through was they had a haunting, for lack of a better term. Some people might think it's a poltergeist. I think it's actually something a little bit deeper and darker than just a poltergeist. Poltergeists are usually generally created by an adolescent, and usually one that has psychic abilities and is under stress. They can be created by adults too, but usually they're created by somebody that has some latent psychic ability and may not even realize it. And some sort of emotional stress can bring it out, and then poltergeists are created that way. Anyway, what I think that she was dealing with was much worse. All right, her house that she grew up in was haunted, and when I say haunted, I don't mean like boo. I mean, you heard the audio, and I'll play it. But there was literally like something pounding on her door, and she's in her bedroom with her cell phone recording it, and you can hear this thing clearly pounding on the door.
Pounding, it sounds like a Sasquatch trying to get into the room, man.
Dude, literally. And then when you see the pictures and stuff of what it looked like the other side of the door afterwards, this thing took pots and pans and other objects in the house and literally beat a hole halfway through the door. Physically, there was a hole on the other side of the door. It looked like something was trying to beat its way or claw its way through to get into her room. She used to find tampons, like her tampons would go missing, and she'd walk, and there'd be randomly sticking out of the vents, all the air conditioning vents in the house. Her cell phone would go missing, and it would be like up in a vent, and this thing was in the vents. It was all weird, crazy crap like this. It took her phone and was text messaging other people in the house from her phone. I'm not kidding you. I mean, when I first heard some of this stuff, I was like, okay, I believe in the paranormal, right? I have no reason to not believe her. And the more and more she told me, I've gotten a chance to like see her when she tells me about this story, and you can see the fear in her eyes when she talks about it. You can see like her body language. She's not making this up. And then she gave me the audio, and she showed me the audio and stuff and some of the video. And dude, just talking about it makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
Well, let's
Literally.
do it for everyone else, Popeye. Come on.
Oh, you want me?
Hear this, man.
You want me to play the audio?
Oh, we do. Everyone out there in chat is absolutely on the edge of their seats, man.
Let me explain this a little bit. She was in her bedroom, okay, and you're going to hear her. She's on the phone with her mother's boyfriend's daughter, who's in the house, and she was in the next room. I believe it was. She was like, in her room, and they were talking back and forth on the phone. And you can hear, if I'm going off my memory right now, but you can hear this thing beating on the door while she's talking. You'll hear her in the background talk a little bit, but you're going to hear banging. This isn't somebody, hitting the door and her family making a joke, going, ha, 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 it's a prank. This is literally something dark and evil banging on her door. Check this out.
Oh my god. Oh my god. It broke the fucking door, dude. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my fucking god, dude. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't fucking believe it. Oh my fucking god. Oh my god. I'm so scared. It opened the fucking door. Oh Did it open your door?
Oh, no, I don't know.
You hear what she said? It opened her door. And with that banging you heard, that boom, 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 that was that thing using, if I remember correctly, she said it used pots. I think it used a pot and a decent sized cooking pot and a few other utensils to try to get through the door. And I saw a picture of the hole on the other side of the door. Whoa. 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 Dude, this is not like someone going, oh, one time I saw a ghost in my living room. I was smoking a joint at 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, this is the real deal.
You know what, Popeye? This is a lot more common than a lot of us would imagine.
Well, that's one of the things, you don't want to talk about this stuff. A lot of people are afraid to talk about this. A, it's a very traumatizing thing to go through. And B, you're afraid that people aren't going to believe you or make fun of you, right? When in reality, there's more of this stuff that actually goes on than most people would think. It's just so many people are afraid to talk about it. It's like people that know about what's really going on with the government, right? Or conspiracies and stuff. There's more people that are actually awake than you realize. It's just they don't talk about it because they're afraid of being looked at like they're crazy. Same thing. So it wouldn't surprise me if more and more people admitted down the road. And they are, because if you look at 20 years ago compared to now, people are more open to talk about this stuff than they were 20, 30 years ago.
Isolated incident, Popeye? Was it just a one-off, or was this like
no, this went on for a while, dude.
Whoa. No, I'd have been out of there on night 2.
Dude, this went on for a long... she's got pictures of... this thing would trounce the house. They would wake up in the morning, they'd be sleeping, and they'd get up, and the house would be covered, all the food in the kitchen would be all over the kitchen.
It would be like the Ghostbusters moment. That's when Slimer interacts with what's his face. I mean, literal.
No, it wasn't like ectoplasm.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that they literally took objects and moved them around. And
well, not only that, I'll give you guys the link. You can watch the episode of Paranormal Witness, but the way she described when I saw the video, I said to her, "Was it that bad? Was there food and stuff all over the kitchen?" And she said it was worse than what you saw in when they did the reenactment and stuff. She's like, it was way worse. She's got photographs. They realized when they were cleaning, there was a footprint on the floor in the food, and it was not human, and it's clearly a footprint, and it's creepy as shit. Okay, you look at it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wow. This thing got so pissed. Her mother, or somebody had told her mother, give it a toy cat, or give it something, give it a peace offering. And she had this ceramic toy cat, or not toy, it was a ceramic cat. She offered it up as a peace offering, and the boyfriend got pissed off, and he chucked it out in the backyard, and that thing reappeared in the house.
Now that's just great. You got a wormhole in your backyard, or a freaking portal.
He picked it up. Wait, he picks it up, and they said, don't smash it, and he smashed it, the porcelain cat, into a bazillion little pieces. That night, I think it was Jamie, woke up and found it in the kitchen, and all over the kitchen. I think it was actually all over the house, but at least I know all over the kitchen. If I could be wrong, it might even have been written all over the house, but the word cat was written all over the place.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, what she went through, I've been in real haunted places. What she went through makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up, and that takes a lot. It really does. It's some creepy, creepy stuff. I know evil exists. I can't tell you where it comes from because I don't definitively know, but I know it exists.
Of course it does. There has to be evil. It has to exist. For light to exist, you have to have darkness. I just, that's just the way it is. Otherwise, you don't have a frame of reference to know anything different. How are you supposed to know what dark is if you don't know what light is?
She just messaged me on Facebook. She said it used a big pot and a mallet to get through the door, and then it was the word cat was written all over the house.
Get out! That's awesome.
A mallet? Oh, I'm out of there.
Dude, I'm there. I'm in there. I'm coming. Oh, I'm.
You see, you're like me, Joe. You'd want to do battle with this thing.
Absolutely.
On like a spiritual level, you'd want to all right, you'd want to take it.
I'd be like, the power of Christ compels you. Power of Christ.
That's the only way to fight stuff like this. You can't.
I know that.
A lot of times people want to be like, I'll kick its ass. That's not going to
No.
Happen. I hate to tell you, but if you take it on like that, it will F you up if it can.
You know who's a good person to talk to, and hope he'll be probably on about 8:30 Eastern or so, is Johnny King, because he does this stuff all the time. That he interacts with entities, with demons, with all sorts of different beings and creatures. So, I mean, unbelievable. Whistles,
on you go, Joe.
Well, I would say, Whistles, do you have anything that you like to add to this stunning conversation?
Yeah, well, when I was over in America, I was over at my son's there. He was telling me about...
Yeah, you were really suffering, weren't you?
Oh, yeah, really suffering. Oh. Yeah, but somebody has to do it. But, no, he was telling me about he used to have a certain place where he would feed his dog. And he says that the dog was, every time it would go to the food, it would like creep over and it didn't want to be there, kind of thing. He never ever really paid much attention to it, and the fact that the dog was just leaving its food, it wasn't touching it because it just didn't want to eat it there. So he said he was using the Xbox with the Kinect, and it was some sort of game he was playing that when it recognises you, it puts a little bubble above your head with your name on it. But over where the dog had actually been frightened to be, there was another bubble that says guest.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know.
Ouch.
Like a cancer that's silently spreading.
Agent for Truth with Joe Bannister. Sundays on Truth Frequency Radio.
Wars are psychological just as much as they are physical. Just as much as they are economic. Listen up.
We dash you your peace of mind. We construct lies to make them true. We tell it, we sell it.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. So we were talking about the paranormal before we went to the break. If you're interested in actually seeing the video about the story that I was discussing, and you can go over to YouTube, just type in Paranormal Witness Season 1, Episode 3, and it's the first half of the episode is about Jamie's story. And what, like she said to me, what they showed on TV was only probably about a quarter, maybe 20% of all the stuff that they actually went through. It was just really crazy. I mean, this thing, like I said, it text messaged her. It took her phone and then text messaged other people in the house from her phone. And they they literally had to make a deal with it to find out where the phone was. I'm not kidding. They had to text back and forth with this thing so it would give her back her cell phone. You think I'm making this up, but I'm not. And believe me, I have no reason to not trust her. She's never lied, and there's more than just her that backs her story up and everything she says. So, I mean, this is 100% the real deal. And it's creepy, but hey, we don't know everything in this world, so you can't just say, oh, no, that couldn't have happened. You know what I mean? So if you want to actually see the video, it's either in the chat room, I dropped it in the chat, or if you go to YouTube, just type in Paranormal Witness Season 1, Episode 3, and it's the first half of the video is her story. What do you think, Kev?
I mean, sorry, Kev, you could just hear the fear. There's no way that's fake.
In the audio, yeah.
Sat listening to the goosebumps, but the amazing thing now I found is with all this new technology, I don't know if you guys have heard of the SLS, Structured Light Sensor Camera System. It's from XCam. There's a guy on YouTube, Huff Paranormal, and he's been testing it out, and wow, is all I can say. It's basically like a digital dowsing, and this thing is just like a camera, but it actually picks up almost like patterns and shapes of things going around the room, and it'll point it out saying there's an anomaly there. And
you know what gets me, Marty? It's almost like what Johnny Whistles actually described with the Xbox One Kinect. It picks up the shape, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I just think as we get further down the road with this tech, people are not going to be able to deny that this stuff's real anymore.
Well, cameras have been picking up stuff for a while, even if it's not these new, like the facial recognition stuff is going to be what, like, who knows what that camera saw? The only reason why we can't see certain things is because of our eyes don't pick up certain. It only picks up a certain.
It's like
little
5 or
tiny
10% of the whole light
Yeah,
spectrum.
dude, if you actually look what our eyes pick up as compared to the
It's
entire
nothing.
light spectrum, it's like a little
Yeah.
tiny infinitesimal little. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. That's why we don't see things. That's why literally there could be things. There is stuff. It's not even there could be. There are things going on around us right now. There's in my studio. There's whatever going on, and people would say, "Well, it's in another dimension." No, it's actually in this dimension. I just can't see it because my sensory equipment doesn't pick it up. But the cameras are different. Even cell phones. Cell phone cameras are different. You know, I don't know if they still do this, but back in the day, like I had a tattoo lasered off my arm, okay, and I had it re-tattooed. When I first was getting it covered up, like after I'd gotten lasered off, and I put the new, started working on a new sleeve. I took my camera and I turned it to one of those negative filters, where it makes everything look like a negative, and I took a photo of it, and it didn't pick up my new tattoo. It picked up my old one that was in my flesh below it. Like you could see it. Like, I mean, the new tattoo, it picked up, but you could see the old one through it. And in the spots that weren't tattooed, you could clearly see the tattoo as if it was still there, even though to my visual naked eye, it looked like it was erased because it had been lasered off. But the outline of the tattoo was still clearly in my arm, even though it wasn't there. I actually took a picture of it. It was crazy. And then I realized, wow, the camera can see more, obviously, than just my eyes do. So that thing, that there probably still is a large portion of that tattoo still on my arm. I just can't tell because I can't physically see it, and nobody else can either because we're all human and we all have the same sensory equipment. So who's to say what is actually going on around us at all times? We do not know. Now, Kev, I remember you asked me on a Freaky Friday a long time ago about the paranormal and about hauntings and stuff, right? And you said, what do I think about ghosts? Well, I don't think there's one umbrella, one size fits all thing. I think there's different types of hauntings. You have poltergeist, things like that. I think there's residual energy hauntings, which we've talked about, like, especially in older buildings, right? Soaks up energy, especially if something bad happened in the building, right?
I'm thinking something bad must have happened in Jamie's building.
Do you think it's that, or do you think that we manifest it?
I don't know, but Marty, what's your take on it, man?
I really don't know. Kind of a little theory on the ghost phenomenon was people talk about parallel dimensions and stuff like that, and I thought maybe there's, people say that there could be a whole new reality existing like we are on Earth, on a different Earth, and sometimes they cross over. That's why some of these ghost images just appear and then fade away. And then you really see the stuff that Popeye was talking about, and it sort of shatters that theory for me. But I've had so many experiences with paranormal stuff after my brother passed away. All kinds of pictures I could show you guys. Wouldn't really want them all over the internet, but that my brother's partner took with the children, and my brother would just appear in the picture. And there's just no way of denying it. And I had so many experiences around that time, which kind of led me this way to the whole truth thing about 8 years ago. And it really showed me that there is something else. It wasn't wishful thinking. It was too many coincidences. I
no doubt, man.
It's not a belief anymore. It's a knowing thing that I've seen.
Yeah, I've seen that picture, Marty, and that's your brother behind everybody with his arms round everybody. It was amazing. It is unbelievable.
It is, and before that, I wouldn't believe in this sort of stuff. I don't even think he did. But when you see it for yourself and you experience it, and then obviously I had the thing with the 1111s and the 23s and synchronicities, which all seem to be from the same thing, amazing.
Wow.
It is,
Marty,
you
were talking about different kind of dimensions and things there as well. I've just recently watched a film, and anyone who's into like quantum stuff or this kind of stuff that we're talking about here just now
What is it?
Coherence. Now, just a quick kind of overview of the film is there's a comet.
Is it on YouTube?
No. Well, you can download it off the streams. It might well be. But a comet is going overhead. There's 8 people at a dinner party, and all of a sudden the lights go out. So they go out onto the street. They realise there's a house 2 blocks away with lights on. 2 of them decide to go up there, Joe, to use the phone, and then a little bit of time passes by. The ones that stayed in the house get the generator running, and then the original 2 people come back to the house, and one of them's bleeding. Now, they kind of think, what's going on? Well, they say that they got to the house up the street, and when they looked in the window, what did they see? They seen the other 6 people who they were having dinner with sat round the table acting exactly the same way as they had been in the other house. And what it was to do with was the fact that we've all spoke about Schrodinger's cat on here. Normal science says that if you have a cat in a box with some poison, then the cat will either be dead or alive. But when we look at things on a quantum level, well, it is both dead and alive. All possibilities exist until one collapses into reality.
Yeah.
And the idea behind this film, whoever wrote it, it is absolutely fantastic. And it's a good way of getting some quantum physics knowledge across.
Yeah,
That's fascinating.
I'm a big quantum physics nerd.
Do you think maybe that's some of the things then, Marty, that we do explain as ghosts? Not to take away from the ghosts kind of thing, but maybe that's how we explain away some quantum quirks that go on.
Yeah, I think all of it's possible at the same time.
Yeah. I think, guys, is we can look at the way that, when we do what we do, the more that we research and the deeper we dig into these subject matter, the more we realize that we don't know much at all. You really understand that the ocean is vast of all the knowledge that's out there, and you may be able to get a crumb in your lifetime, and that's about it. If you're lucky and you're actually doing this stuff,
What if, like, when people say, well, what are these things, right? Like this thing that was messing with her, people could say, what is it? Was it this? Was it that? Let's say it was some dark entity, right?
Yeah.
Where would it come from? Why would it just attack her? Well, I've told her, if you get to know her, like I have, then you'd understand the person she is. You'd understand why this thing would go after her, because of the amount of light and love that she has inside of her. What if the people that I'm willing to bet that if you start to research these people that have had experiences like this, where they were targeted by negative entities, that perhaps they were individuals that were like her. And perhaps maybe the darkness, wherever it comes from, sends these things through like shock troops.
Can I be honest with you? I think you're 110% right. I'm going to expand on that a little bit. People out there, a lot of them are discouraged because they don't see things, or they don't hear things, or things don't manifest for them. They do the Ouija boards and they do the seances and nothing happens. If that happens, first of all, don't be discouraged, because that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. What it means is you're not a direct threat to them. You're not a threat. It's that simple. Normally, these things will manifest themselves if you are a threat to the evil, to the darkness. If you're a light bearer, if you have that spiritual barometer, like Marty, you're like a spiritual antenna. My wife is a spiritual antenna. I mean, I've seen more crap with her than I've ever seen on my own, and it's only because it's the nature of who she is and what we do that makes us a target for this stuff. The other thing to understand is spiritual attack just doesn't come in a visual form. A lot of it has to do with using your discernment and understanding what it is that's happening in your life and what's around you. Spiritual attack just doesn't come out with a ghost coming up. Oh, no. That's not how it works. And you can start to feel it. If you start to research and get into this stuff, you can actually start to feel the different energies. And I never in a million years, guys, ever thought that I'd be able to do this. But I'll tell you where it all kind of opened up for me. for years, my military conditioning and all that kind of stuff, and even before that, I really just wasn't a lovey-dovey kind of person. It's actually kind of an asshole, to be frank. And until my wife took the time and taught me what love was really all about, I had no idea about that. Love unlocks the door to a lot of things, spirituality being one of them. And you get to understand and feel things on a different level that it's a game changer. So, I mean, that was what unlocked it for me, is when I let that wall down. I let it down and I started to feel. And that's when I was convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that this stuff exists. Now, how it exists, to be honest with you, I don't really care, because no matter what I believe ain't going to change the truth. It's not going to change reality. So could it be a quantum thing? Absolutely. Could it be a demon thing? Sure. Could it be grandma and grandpa coming back to visit? Who knows? All I know is that it's real. But you really got to open yourself up if you want to experience it.
Yeah, I think so too. I do also believe that there is good and bad in that other realm. But some of the problems I have with the religious view on spirits and contacts from the other side, or wherever it might be, is they'll tell you that it's all bad and it must be a demon and don't trust it, and everything is just to, manipulate you. And it basically tell you not to even look at it, don't even delve in that other side, and then that just makes me more suspicious.
Programming, you think, Marty?
Yeah, I think they're trying to.
I guess an ends to justify the means, as far as, like the Catholic Church will take, for example, right? If they can convince people not to look that way and that the power resides with them, well, then they can control. But if they start to learn the truth and say, "Wow, look at this," the emperor's a naked emperor over there. God damn it, they have no power. And then you start to understand the whole deception. And then you start to look at other organized religions and say, holy crap, wow, it's all the same.
Yeah, exactly. We're living in the same matrix no matter what you believe.
Yes. You got to break out from that. It's like Popeye says, you got to break out from this crap. Don't just do this perpetual, cyclical, traditional crap, because you're not going to learn anything. You're just going to exist. What kind of crap is that? You want to live. We're here on this earth for a very small snippet in time.
And not just live, Joe. Live free.
Absolutely, bro.
I was just thinking there, with it being Freaky Friday and that, I'm not sure, I think I've said this on probably KBS before, but Schrodinger's cat, back to the quantum world. I live there, Joe. That was a theoretical experiment.
Yes.
Whereas right now, we have actually a live working of the hypothesis underway. Let me put it to you, the MH370 is the modern day equivalent of Schrodinger's cat. Because right now, until some of us, with the power of observation, claps eyes on that plane and the people inside, well, theoretically, they are both in a state of alive and dead.
Kev, you're probably the only person I know that could take the MH370 conspiracy and turn it into a lesson on quantum physics.
You're right.
Baker's Malaysian Airlines experiment.
Right. Kev's double slit experiment. We're going to take two Asian airliners.
Oh, they did as well, remember? MH17. Ooh.
Yeah.
You had MH17 and MH370, right?
Well, there you go. And then that other one, did you guys see the video of that one that crashed?
Oh, yeah.
The turboprop?
Yeah. That was something.
Dude, I saw that video and I was like,
you know what happened?
Fake.
You know what happened, right?
Wait, they had a
problem with
4 times because I was like, that can't be real. And I was like, holy shit.
They had a problem with one engine, and the guy went, instead of cutting off the bad engine and throttling up the good engine, he cut off the good engine and and it just lost. It stalled out.
Oops.
Yeah, he threw the wrong switch.
Oh, well, see, panicking will do that.
Yeah, that was one hell of a crash. There was another one, 747 out of.
People survived that, by the way.
I know.
I was like, they're all dead. And then they were like, there were survivors. And I was like, what? It's like, wow, I'm doubly surprised today.
There was one out of Iraq where a 747 cargo plane, the load shifted, and that thing just went, just bellied down and blew up, man. It was unbelievable.
I've seen that. Yeah, what was this? I think it was a C5 Galaxy I saw crash.
Oh, it was horrible.
I have to ask, guys, because it was doing the rounds on the conspiracy sites. There was people out there saying that might have been faked. I don't see the payoff. I don't see the key bono of faking just an accident like that.
And they say it was faked because the way the video, the way when you see the video, like I said, when I first saw it, I was like, no way, that's like digitally put in there. Come on. And I went back and I watched it like 2 or 3 times and I was like, holy crap, that's real. And then I went and looked it up and yeah, it was very real. It really did happen. Like, that's the problem. Can I just give the alternative media a quick lecture for a second? Because they need this. Everything is not an effing conspiracy. You people are what makes that meme possible. Seriously.
It must be really easy for those cyber warriors that they hire on this side of the Atlantic and yours that go out there to muddy the waters. When they see one of these genuine events happening, it must be like gold dust to them because it saves them a whole heap of work, doesn't it? They just put fake in front of the news title and then put it on before it's news or somewhere like that.
Yeah, but there's other people that are genuinely like, here's the problem. People are so non-trusting of the government that they're swinging to the opposite end of the spectrum, and but they're doing so like the far end, right? It's either one extreme or the other. They haven't found the happy medium yet, and everything is a conspiracy. And then that kind of thinking and that kind of just running out, and that's not reporting. You're not part of the alternative media.
But here's the thing, Popeye.
If you're doing that, you're part of the problem.
We have to be careful as well, though, because a lot of the people who do kind of overreact sometimes and buy into it, and I've been there as well.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's usually people that's waking up, and we don't want to attack them for doing it because we've all been there. No, I know that, but
I'm
it's
not
hard
attacking them. I'm targeting the people that are out there, putting themselves out there as, you need to listen to me, I know everything. And the first thing they do is they jump on everything as a conspiracy. Okay? I talk about conspiracies all the time. Okay? All the time. I cover all the different presidential and political assassinations, right? I don't say, oh, it was a lone gunman. But how do I react when a real event happens? I give it 72 hours. And why do I do that? Because genuinely, within 72 hours, what usually comes out? 2 or 3 different versions of the story, right? So if I start chasing the initial whatever it is and going, oh my God, they did it, without any proof, if something comes out that, and there is it was maybe a real event, it wasn't contrived, I'm going to look like an ass if I come out and say, oh my God, it's a false flag. How many times have other people that we all know done that and then been proven wrong made to look like an idiot? And then you end up losing a little bit of credibility unless you own up to your mistake, which that's why you have your credibility, Kev, because when you make mistakes, just like me or Joe or other people, you own up to it.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's a big difference.
You
You're
have
like,
to.
hey, I screwed up. I apologize. But the way to not continue to make those same mistakes is to not jump into everything and be like, oh my God, the sky is falling. Look, everybody needs to relax. That's why the general public that's not awake and just waking up and like on the fence, they look at us like that conspiracy theorist meme, the pejorative that's put out there that Langley invented back in the 60s, because there are so many people that are just running out there, and it's for multiple reasons. There's people, like you said, that are just awake. They have like truther verbal diarrhea where it just comes out of their mouth. It's like, 9/11 was an inside job, HARP, chemtrails, blah, and they can't contain it because they just want to tell everybody. I understand that. But there's also people that do it to sell stuff. So they use fear to market, or they're click whores and they want clicks to their website. So they'll type up any ridiculous crap that has no value and no merit in fact whatsoever, and they'll put it out. And we all know there's those those websites that they consider themselves to be like open source intelligence websites for people. Right, you're intelling nothing. The point is, people need to stop and like chill and use a little bit of discernment when reporting on things. Okay, because you're making us look like asses. I'm just saying.
Can't use emotion first, right, Marty?
No, you've got to give it some time. That's why I always say on the show, when these breaking news events happen, sometimes as we're on the show, that it's best to give it a couple of days and observe all the information, see what comes out before you really make your mind up, because there is people out there on YouTube that will jump straight on it as soon as something comes out, and they'll basically tell you, look, this is definitely what's happened. And we do find out sometimes that they were wrong. And it is a shame, like Kev was saying before, when people are just waking up, they've just realised that the whole reality's fake and everything they've been told's a lie. They stop trusting everyone, and they'll sort of believe everything that's put out there. But
stop talking about Kev, will you?
I know I'm sitting here and shaking my head, Marty. I feel guilty.
Actually, Kev is who I was targeting when I said click whore.
Oh, wow.
I'm just
Taboo.
Yeah, Kevin is Dabu 7 impression. I think Kev is Dabu 7.
Kev is actually Crisis Dabu.
Yeah, he's a crisis Dabu.
No, Dabu is the crisis Kev. Did you hear that
right.
crisis
Sorry.
Kev on the
I got
hanger?
it backwards.
Crisis Kev will be back tomorrow night, Marty boy.
Come on. Kev, give us an impression.
Illuminati.
I'm telling you, dude, that's not an impression. He's actually Dabu 7. I'm gonna start this rumor, and eventually it's gonna stick.
I love Dabu 7. I think he does some really great work.
Yeah, I think so. It does. It does. You've got to take from it certain things. You can't sort of. That's the thing with all this truth stuff, and people on YouTube and stuff. Even though they might get stuff wrong sometimes, be a little bit sensational, there is still stuff out there. You've just got to take from it what you will and make your own mind up. Don't follow everyone and idol everyone. Just do your own research and come to your own conclusions, because we're not infallible.
Sensational. I wouldn't know anything about making sensational World War III titles or anything like that.
No, never.
Kev's the sensationalist, like college professor and how to do it. Sit in my course for 5 minutes and I will teach you how to make the most sensational sounding titles for your videos and get a bazillion hits on
listen,
YouTube.
Listen. I'm not aiming for the choir. We've got the choir. I'm aiming at the trendies, and you have to catch their imagination in 1 second.
No, you're
That's all
right.
you've got.
I shouldn't have sent him Bernays' Crystallizing Public Opinion and Propaganda book, should I have? That was probably a bad move on my part, wasn't it?
Yeah, because he's using the techniques.
Son of a
bitch.
bitch.
When you sent me that, I had 2,000 subscribers.
Oh, look at you now.
It's working well.
And we're done. Hour number 1.
Already.
What's in hour 2? Some woo.
More woo.
More woo. It's
you know what?
Friday.
I'm going to scare the hell out of the listeners with the story that inspired Nightmare on Elm Street. Stay tuned.
Ooh, in only true Kev fashion with his Scottish accent. And thank you for letting us share your story, Jamie. Go check the episode of Paranormal Witness out. Creepy.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
You're listening to Truth Frequency Radio.
We are TFR.
Wanna know, are you true? Can you woo, 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 woo? They don't thug it like I do. Can you woo, 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 woo? I wanna know, are you true? Can you woo, 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 woo? They don't run this like we do. Can you woo, woo, woo?
Is it true? Is it deja vu? Is it you? Can I come through and kick it with you? Can we woo, woo, woo? Snip a little ooh, ooh.
Welcome back, everybody. It's hour number 2 of my favorite night of the week, Freaky Friday, here on Truth Frequency Radio, truthfrequencyradio.com. I'm Joe Joseph, along with Popeye. from Down the Rabbit Hole. And we also have the KBS crew, Kev Baker, Marty, and Johnny Whistles. Man, that first hour just flowed, boys. And where the hell do we go from here? Because I'm just kind of drooling on myself.
No, say it, Joe. Best Freaky Friday ever.
It has been. It's been the best Freaky Friday ever, dude. No doubt.
Excellent.
I have to. And by the way, that's a tradition.
It's not Friday until I hear you say that.
That's right.
As I was telling the listeners before the break, Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, that film to this day still creeps me out, Joe. Little did I know that it may have been inspired by a true story. And
Really?
This is quite unbelievable. Unfortunately, though, very, very true. Take a listen to this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 40 and Slip Bedtime Stories. Tonight, the true story that inspired A Nightmare on Elm Street. From the LA Times, January 11th, 1987. Since April 1983, at least 130 Southeast Asian refugees have left this world in essentially the same way. They cried out in their sleep, and then they died. Medical authorities call this Asian death syndrome. The refugees have various names for it, one of them being night terror. But Dr. Robert Kirshner says it all roughly translates as the same thing, nightmare death. As a deputy Cook County medical examiner, Kirshner has investigated 5 nightmare deaths himself, including a Laotian father and son who died in a Northside Chicago apartment, in bed, asleep, and only 15 months apart. The people in the neighborhood are terrified, Kirshner says. The victims had much in common, Kirshner found. First and foremost, that nothing seemed to be wrong with them before they suddenly died. These are all healthy men with no previous symptoms. The average age was 33, he says. The situation is almost always the same. It only occurs in men, and it only occurs in their sleep. The report is they cry out and die or are found dead the next morning. Standard autopsies revealed little about the deaths other than that they were caused by a sudden heart stoppage. Such an occurrence in Asians is mystifying since their rates of ordinary cardiac disease and malfunction are extraordinarily low, primarily due to their low-fat diet. But detailed examinations of the victims' hearts performed by Dr. Frederick Eckner of the University of Illinois College of Medicine turned up something strange. All of the 18 hearts were slightly enlarged, and 17 showed defects in their conduction systems, the array of fibers that carries electronic impulses from the brain to the heart. The fibers were frayed and curled, as if, Kirshner says, their hearts just shorted out. It is Kirshner's theory that something at night, perhaps a random electronic discharge, and yes, perhaps a nightmare, overloaded these defective hearts, causing the sudden deaths. This makes the nightmare death all the more curious, since studies of whites who die suddenly has not shown the same defect. Thus, Kirshner speculates genetics probably plays a large role in the defect, which may be present from birth. Nightmare deaths are only found in certain Asian populations, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, as well as the Philippines and Japan. It has not been reported in China.
Yep, so there you go, folks. You might actually be born with a genetic predisposition to suffer a death similar to that given to people by Freddy Krueger.
But did you hear that Freddy Krueger won't even F with the Chinese? What's up with that?
Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
33-year-old.
That just blows my mind.
It's a Kev-spiracy.
I mean, damn.
Kev-spiracy, I like that. That's Scott Lopez to the studio.
Yes.
Scott Lopez to the main office.
But
Scott Lopez to the main office.
They're talking about like Asian death syndrome there and night terrors. Now, there is things called incubus and succubus. Now, they're supposed to be demons, entities that visit during the night and, well, they do nothing short of actually seduce their victims. Now, I'm not saying this is what has happened to them.
Well, it's not always seduction, too. Sometimes it's like rape.
Well, yeah, one person's rapes, another man's
I thought they like sucked the brains out of this. You know, I thought that was more of like what the incubus succubus stuff was.
You know, I think. Well, I don't know, but now that 50 Shades of Grey's out there, Popeye, there's a fine line that's been kind of erased between seduction and rape, is there not?
If that guy wasn't a millionaire, if he lived inside of a trailer, it would have been a Criminal Minds episode.
Excellent. I've seen that photo. Brilliant.
That's all I got. That's all I got to say. What is wrong with people? Like, go. You know what? Like, if you enjoy sex with your partner, just go talk to your partner. You don't need some weird semi-bondage film to go get off. And then in Glasgow, the women were puking because they were drunk, and then they were assaulting people. They stabbed some dude.
Johnny Whistles, where is this place? Glasgow.
Yeah, I think that might be Kentucky or something.
Is it beside London?
That is the worst accent I think I've ever heard.
No, man. Hey, man. No, it's more like this. See, it's over in Glasgow. You see over there.
There you go. See?
That's where it's at, man.
Glasgow.
Go over there in Glasgow.
Come on then, Joe. What does your book tell you is happening to these people when they're getting almost attacked in their nightmares?
See, now here's the thing. Sometimes, and most times, I don't know, Marty, maybe you can speak to this, but I find that a lot of the communication, I think when you dream, often if you're spiritually in that zone, that's where a lot of the communication takes place. That's where a lot of the interaction takes place. How about you, Marty? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. You think of this nightmare death syndrome, as they call it in the States. Really, if you think about it, if you have enough fear, your heart could just stop. And if you think of when people say if you jumped out of a plane without a parachute, you'd be dead before you hit the ground. I think it's the same kind of thing, because I've had experiences and lucid dreams, and not all of them have been good experiences. I've seen some horrible looking demonic looking things that I've never even seen anywhere. So don't know where them images came from. But that fear feeling is a very real thing in dreams.
Yeah.
And did you know that the Nightmare on Elm Street film was actually inspired by real instances of nightmare death syndrome? So it's been going on for a while.
Yeah, but don't you guys remember? Maybe it was just like a urban legend when we were kids. But Joe, didn't you? Maybe not over there in the UK and in Glasgow. But we were told when we were kids, like, don't you remember hearing that if you died in your dreams, that's why, like, when you fell off a cliff or a building in your dream, you woke up before you hit, because if you died in your dreams, like, I was told that when I was a kid, if you died in your dreams, you could die in real life, right? I mean, I don't know if that really holds any merit in any reality or not, but
I have heard that myself, definitely.
So who's to know, who's to say that maybe really isn't true to a certain extent? And Freddy Krueger was creepy. But the guy, he represents nothing more than a pedophile to me. Like, that's what he represents when you look at him. I mean, I have to go back now, because I haven't watched any of those films.
He does. He looks like Jimmy Savile a bit. You're right.
He does kind of look like Savile. But, like, to me, he just represents a pedophile, like the ultimate evil pedophile that comes in.
Well, hold on now. Wait. Let me stop you right there. Now, if Popeye shaved his beard and then you put circular glasses on him and a cigar in his mouth, what do you think?
Ooh, I can't even insult Popeye like that. Not even I can do that.
Are you trying to say I look like Freddy Krueger?
No, like Jimmy Savile.
I wouldn't go there.
Oh,
Popeye.
Easy, dude. Easy. I look nothing like Jimmy Savile. Jesus, that's an effing insult. Take that back.
There's one to carry on to the hanger.
That was off the top rope. That was like Dusty Rhodes cut his head open with a razor blade.
Those are them's fighting words, Joe. I'm gonna have to come to North Kakalaki.
A wise guy, eh?
Yeah, seriously. Oh, Jimmy Savile, that guy.
Jimmy Savile.
Honestly, you gotta wonder if you took like a real paranormal investigative team and went to like one of these places that they partied at and supposedly
like they did that stuff.
Like, I wonder what you'd pick up there. Or if you took
let me ask you this.
Like a real psychic or a medium or somebody that could pick up energy and stuff. I wonder what they would pick up if you took them to a place where like these rituals and stuff that these psychos do. I wonder what kind of residual energy is around those areas. I mean, there's got to be something.
How do you measure that? Do they have device? I'm totally like, the only thing I've ever seen in relation to that was Egon holding up that freaking thing that measured the energy, right? So I have no idea. How do they measure that outside of people just feeling it, like bringing a medium in or something like that? Do they have like test equipment that can measure this stuff?
Well, I mean, you could use, like, when you go into, like, when I've gone into places, you can use EM meters.
Okay.
You can use laser thermometers to catch temperature spikes, like drops in temperature.
I tell you, one of the new things they're using is like a laser light display. You put it on the floor, and it casts out almost like George Bush's speech, 1,000 points of light onto the background at the back of the room on the wall. And if anything passes through that, obviously, you'll see the lights going out on the back wall. And it's quite startling the amount of times when I've seen this being used in investigations, you do actually see movement, the lights flicker.
You ever hear of a spirit box?
Oh, that's amazing, those things. But I think...
I have audio, and it's all raw, so I'd have to go through it and listen to it. But the last time Marseille and I went to a haunted house, there was this place we used to go called the Deering Estate down in South Florida, and it's the most haunted place in all of Florida. And the last time we went, part of the group of investigators, there was these 2 off-duty cops that were there, and they did like paranormal investigations in their own time. And they had a spirit box, and there was a bunch of people had EM meters. You know, I had a digital thermometer. So we were all up in the most haunted building on the property, in the most haunted section of it, with the lights out, and we were doing. We had been doing just. We challenged it to make one of the flashlights turn on and off, and it was a flashlight that one of us had. We just took the flashlight and turned it on and put it in the middle of the table, and we're like, if you can hear us, make the flashlight flicker on and off. And I'm not kidding you. I mean, there's video of the light going on and off, flickering, and answering our questions. And like I said, this place is very well known for being haunted. So we played with the spirit box inside there, and it was really creepy. I mean, it was talking in Spanish to us, and luckily, my late wife was Puerto Rican, so she could speak fluent Spanish. And the 2 cops that were there were Spanish, and they all, the 3 of them, agreed on the same translation of what they all heard in Spanish. And it was talking about a plane crash back in the 80s. Now, none of us, we were all like, we looked at, when you do this stuff, there's always one person from the county that like keeps an eye on everybody so you don't break anything, because the county owns the property. And they're like historians. They know everything about the property. And they don't say anything to you. They just kind of hang out in the background. Sometimes they're not even in the room. They'll hang out like downstairs. And he happened to be in the room, and he heard us talking about what was being said. And he was pale white. And he's like, there's no way that you guys could know this. But there was a plane crash back in the drug heydays in the 80s. There was a plane crash back on the property. Now, the property's vast. It's huge. Part of it's swamp. There was a plane crash out in the swampy area. And by the time the security personnel had gotten out to that side of the property, the plane was there. There were no numbers. There was no markings on the planes. There were little cargo compartments that were open, but there was nothing inside, and the pilot was gone. So obviously, if somebody died, they took the body, but it was obviously a drug smuggling plane, and whoever was there waiting for the pickup at the pickup point took the pilot and the drugs and took off, and they left the plane there. No numbers, no nothing. Now, I didn't know about this. This is something that's not very well known. And yet, this was picked up on the spirit box. So, just very interesting stuff. And I like, in that same room at a separate investigation, Marseille was sitting next to me. She was an empath. She was sitting next to me, and she had to leave the room. She got like physically nauseous all of a sudden, and she was like, "Oh my God!" She's like, "It's too much in here," and she had to go outside and like go downstairs and go outside. So she had gotten up and she had pushed the chair back and kind of catty corner away from the table. And I'm sitting there, and there's a guy across. There's like, a couple people on the other side. There's 2 or 3 people next to me, and there's a guy directly across from me. And we're sitting there and we're asking questions. And we said something to the effect of, and I have the audio, so I actually played this on one of my shows, a couple weeks after we went. I played the audio, and I have to find it and play it again, but I might be able to try to find it during the break. I'll see if I can find it. But we were sitting there, and I don't remember if we said, show us a sign or something that you're here, because the EM meters were spiking up and down, but we said something. I think I said something to it, or it was either me or the dude across from me. One of us said something, and with that, I kid you not, the chair next to me, the Marseille was sitting in and left, spun. it straightened itself out so it was facing back like the way the rest of the chairs were towards the table, and slammed itself underneath the table. It did it so hard that the guy across from me screamed like a little girl and jumped out of his chair. Like he turned pale white and leaped out of his chair. I mean, it was pitch black. You couldn't see anything, and I could see this guy turning pale white and leaping out of the chair, and you heard him screech. And it was just, holy crap. And everybody was like, did you just do that? And I was like, no, but did you all see that and hear? And they were like, yes. And I was like, okay, I'm not crazy.
And I said, I'm done. I'm out of here.
No, I stayed.
Man, that would have freaked me out, buddy.
I hung out up there for like another hour and a half. I was like one of the last ones out of there. That stuff doesn't really bother me, man. I mean, it's creepy. It is, but like, I guess my urge to know is greater than that.
Creepy
that
and
inner,
exciting.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. If a portal opened up and something walked out and was like, I wouldn't be like, so can we have coffee? I'd be like, well, maybe we should go.
Yeah, me too.
I'd be like, maybe we should go outside, give it some space. But yeah, if you're ever in South Florida and you get a chance to, you're going to be down there for a while, check out and see if you're going to be down there at the time that they do what's called a spook over at the Deering Estate. The property is extremely haunted. On the property, there are Indian burial mounds that date back 10,000 years. Enough said.
These places are like magnets for kind of paranormal activity, are they not, Popeye?
Dude, it's so haunted, whatever you want to call it, that they have like sightings out in the property, like on the outside of the grass in the middle of the day. For instance, they used a portion of the property for like a day camp, like a summer camp, right? The different counselors have reported seeing a child that runs into the woods, and they do a head count. They gather all the kids up, and they go in the woods. They can't find them. They gather all the kids up. They do a head count, and all of the children are there, but they know that nobody went in and found this child in the woods. And it's multiple times people have seen this kid run into the woods, and it like clear as day. There's like some weird looking kid standing there, and then turns around and takes off into the woods, and the counselors go to chase him and find him, and he's not there. And they've had this happen. I mean, broad daylight, like in the middle of summer, 2:00 in the afternoon, when that's the last time you would expect to see like something spooky. Usually you'd think, oh, ghosts come out at night and ooh, creepiness. And it's the middle of the day. I mean, there's that much energy, whatever's there. And you can go out, not on them, but by the Indian burial mounds. They have a wooden walkway that goes out through the swamp area where they are. And if you go out there, I've gone out there at night. We were out there at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we sat out there for like an hour and a half. And you can feel you're being watched. You're just sitting out there. It's this little walkway that takes you out into the middle. You're standing out in the middle of the swamp, basically, and you're only maybe 1/8 of a mile, not even, maybe 1/16 of a mile away from one of the burial mounds. And like
if you think about it, Popeye, Indians, I mean, they wouldn't just bury their people in just any sort of ground. It would have to be somewhere that there was some sort of energy. They wouldn't just pick some random place where they would bury their people.
Yeah, like near a ley line or something.
There's something like that, Marty.
More energy, and that seems to be where you get most of the sightings and stuff.
Exactly.
Well, and I don't know. Like, I won't pretend to know what the energy like that maybe it's ley lines, maybe it's the earth, maybe it's natural energy from the earth. Who knows? But I know that they considered a lot of these sites sacred for whatever reason. And then you see these housing developments. These developers, they buy land, and then the natives will be like, "Hey, that's a burial mound. Don't bulldoze that." And they're like, "F you. We're going to put houses here." And then they build the houses, and then all sorts of bad stuff happens to the people that live there. All weird things are happening in these different houses or apartments or whatever. Like, you'd think that people would, like, once or twice disturbing a sacred ground like that, people would learn, but yeah, they don't care. It's the almighty dollar. I wouldn't mess with Indian burial mounds, dude. You couldn't pay me enough.
Nope, I'm with you, Popeye. Fire up the Millennium Falcon. We're out of here.
Yeah, dude, no way. If they were like, there's no more space on Earth and we have to bulldoze this burial mound for you to live, I'd be like, well, I'm living in a cardboard box out in the street because you're not bulldozing that thing. A, it's disrespectful, and B, no, I'm not dealing with that.
So tell me, Popeye, see how you say you're into all this ghosty kind of stuff and all the rest of it. Why is it you urge somebody like me not to do a Ouija board?
Dude, for real, listen to me. I will tell you, and I
Here
will
we
tell
go.
the listeners, this is no joke. Like, don't think that people think that they're so smart. Oh, I could just close it. I could handle it, Popeye. Trust me. Trust me, dude. I'm in touch with my spirituality. I know me and Jesus are homeboys. I could do it. No, you can't. See, the arrogant thing that humans think is that they think that they control evil entities. You cannot. Okay, do not, I repeat, do not. And I know telling people not to do something has the opposite effect sometimes, but ladies and gentlemen, for real, if you've ever taken a single piece of advice that I've ever given you, do not, I repeat, do not dick with a Ouija board or what's otherwise known as a witch board. Okay, I have had experiences with both the Parker Brothers version and a real, like 300-year-old witch board from Salem, Massachusetts. You know, creepy. Okay, this thing, the witch board that we played with, it was like 200-300 years old. It dated back to like the original colonies. Like, that's how old it was. It was passed down through this one kid's family. It was creepy. Okay, just touching it, you could feel the energy off of it. It was an old school witch board. I don't give a crap if you're playing with a Parker Brothers version or one that's a couple hundred years old. Don't play with it. You're going to open up a doorway and you're not going to know how to close it. And you're not going to know how to deal with what you bring forth. And you're not going to like it. Trust me. Those things are not toys. People end up playing with them by themselves. Do you remember the movie The Exorcist? How did she get possessed? Does anybody remember?
Was it the television?
No. She played with a Ouija board and she talked to an entity that called itself Captain Howdy.
Oh, howdy.
Duty.
And look, I know people that have played with Ouija boards by themselves, and I've seen it firsthand. I told you guys the story one Freaky Friday where my friend, this kid I grew up with, got like all possessed and like he was nonviolent whatsoever, and he came at me with a butcher knife when I took the Ouija board away from him because he was sitting in his basement playing with it by himself for like 3 weeks straight. And like when we went down there, it was in the middle of summer, and it was like 40 degrees in the basement. Like you could see your breath. Like it was Exorcist type shit. And I went down there and I yanked the Ouija board out of his hand and I proceeded to walk up the stairs and he came at me with a butcher knife. Where he got the butcher knife, I don't know, but he came at me with a butcher knife and I had to put him down. I had to knock him down. I had to beat him and then throw him, not shove, throw him, like toss down a set of stairs and then walk out of his house and get in and leave. And then he followed me to my house, not kidding, proceeded to beat on the door until I opened the door. When I opened the door, he charged through the front door trying to grab at my throat. And I literally had to pick this kid up and put him through the closet doors in my front hall closet. And then I had to beat him until he submitted. And I mean, like, I laid a beating on this kid that, you know, it was like a boxing match. And this kid he wasn't a fighter. He was a wimp. And it was like a complete 180 of his personality. I'd never seen him like this, ever. Even his parents, his mother, who did not believe in this stuff, was convinced that something had happened and that he shouldn't have been playing with that thing by himself.
Popeye, have you seen the movie?
What, The Exorcist?
No, Ouija.
I don't think I've seen Witchboard, the old school movie.
Yeah, I've seen that. That was a good film, but there's another one out just now.
Really good.
Oh my God, this thing, and it starts off with a girl who actually plays with it herself, not remembering that when she was a young child, she was told golden rule number 1: never ever play with the Ouija board yourself. But it's a pretty cool film. Pretty weird.
If you're wanting to scare yourself right now, that's one I would definitely recommend.
Mm-hmm.
So some would say don't watch it because you'll summon the thing into your living room.
Dude, seriously, like his house, his mother was like a staunch Catholic. She didn't believe in ghosts and stuff like that, right? And I saw this woman turn pale white. I mean, she was a registered nurse. She'd seen a lot of stuff in her life, and this woman turned pale white. And like, she didn't believe in this stuff. I mean, she told my mother, like, I watched her tell my mother, I don't believe in this stuff, but something is in my house. Like, they came to my house because they didn't know where else to go. There was something green floating in their kitchen. I told you, when you would pick up the phone, they would hear all day long, and for a couple weeks afterwards, you'd pick up the phone and there was no dial tone. You just hear, all you heard was this creepy voice go, hell. I'm not kidding. I know it sounds cheesy, like some, B-rated horror flick from the 80s, but I'm not kidding. Like, they played with the Ouija board in his house, and his father, right? Months later, his mom moves out because his parents were divorced. His mom moves out of the house. She didn't want to be there. Father's like, all right, fine, I'll go use the house. His father and I are sitting in the living room having coffee one night, and I kid you not, a silhouette of a woman walks through the living room in front of us, and I spit my coffee out, and I looked at him, and I was like, did you just see that? And he was like, yes, I did. He's like, I saw a woman just walk past us. And here's...
Hangar 18, your TFR Roundtable. Saturdays on True Frequency Radio.
Are we on the verge of an all-out economic collapse? Is America bankrupt? That's right.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to KTRFN's Freaky Friday with my intellectually challenged co-hosts, Kev Baker, Joe Joseph, Popeye, Johnny Whistles, and Marty. I'm your co-host as well, Johnny King. Take it away, guys.
Joined by the king himself. How
The
you
king
doing, man?
himself. Yeah. Boy.
What's
Gee,
cooking
that's
tonight,
swell,
John?
John?
I can't hear both of you at the same time.
What's cooking tonight, John?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I had a half gallon of chocolate ice cream earlier. I'm not hungry.
That'll do it, man.
Well, John, we were talking about all things ghosts in the first half of the show, and Joe was saying you'd be just the man to go to on.
Oh, yes. We must
poltergeists.
talk, John. You must regale us of some of your experiences in the different realms. Yes. Come on, man. Because a lot of people out there, they may say, "Oh yeah, I think it's real," blah blah blah, but deep down inside, they don't think it's real.
Oh, it's absolutely real that they exist. I mean, how can you? I don't see how a person can say that there's a heaven and a hell, and we have a eternal spirit, and not believe in ghosts. I think that the ghosts are someone who is caught between worlds or caught between the planes, and it's grounded here for a specific reason. Now, there's two kinds of hauntings from what I understand. There's an intellectual haunting where the person is actually, or the spirit is actually held back from traveling on into the next existence. And then there's a non-intellectual haunting where something traumatic like a rape or a murder or something like that has actually been so traumatic it's been imprinted into the surroundings and is doomed to play over and over and over in the environment.
I completely agree with that, Johnny.
As far as ghosts go, I've seen them. I've heard them. You can interact with them. It's all pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
I like the way John describes it. John's like, it's pretty cool. I smoke pot with them. We sit and we talk, and they tell me how to grow the best stuff.
We eat mushrooms, man.
Well,
no, I was at work last week. I was working third shift on midnight. Mrs. King. When I got home, we have the headboard on our bed is like 1.5 feet wide. It's like a bookshelf, and I have a bottle of my blackberry homemade wine sitting on the back. And I was at work, as I had said, and Mrs. King told me when I got home the next morning that the wine bottle actually slid across the headboard by itself and landed on the pillow a few inches from her head. She was the only one at home, and my dogs were at the foot of the bed. But the wine bottle just decided it didn't want to be up there anymore. That had to have been acted on by an unseen force. And if you look out of the corner of your eyes before you focus, sometimes you'll see those shadows that are fleeting, that go from one end of the room to the other.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the Final Destination stuff. Who's to say, really, in all these accidents and murders and freak stuff that happens, that there isn't something else behind it? It might sound out there, but you never know.
There's shadow people. That's different.
I don't know about shadow people, but it seems to me every Friday night I find myself hanging out with a right bunch of shady people. So I'm going to bring a caller onto the show. And we have got Jill Mann. Hello, how are you doing? Welcome to the Freaky Friday.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? How are you doing?
Am I on the...
You certainly are, man. Welcome to Freaky Friday. How's it going?
Hey, thanks. My nickname on the chat room is Meat Dog. And
Meat Dog.
My name is Mike. And so...
Okay.
So I've always... I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, cool. Thanks for your call, Mike.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I've always had an interest in the paranormal ever since I've been a kid. I grew up watching Twilight Zone, One Step Beyond, Outer Limits. My mom would read me poems by Edgar Allan Poe, when I was a kid. So it's always been a fascination with me. And I want to ask a question. Have any of y'all ever been to any psychic fairs?
Yeah, I've been to a couple myself. I find them quite fascinating, but then I think there's a lot of charlatans go to these things as well, Mike.
You're absolutely right. I never. I mean, it sounds plausible. I've only been to a couple myself, but there are so many con artists and self-anointed psychics, or a dime a dozen. But I did have this one curious incident. This psychic fair I went to. They had this guy that had this killer in photography, where he would photograph your portrait, basically a headshot, right? And supposedly it would capture your aura, And so everybody, got the, it's $5 or $10, or something like that. I forget, but so people would compare their photographs, and I was looking. The majority of the people, the photographs that photographed, their head, for want of a better word, it looked as if there was like this white cloud above their head, kind of like an afro, with diffused strings of light kind of coming out of it.
Wow.
Now, when he took my...
I've seen that on several people.
Okay, but now, get this now. When he took my photograph, there's like this large purple cloud above my head. Now, I had been meditating in the Quaker religion for a good year, if not longer. And as y'all may or may not know, the Quaker religion, if you want to call it that, or faith, they don't have a preacher, they don't pass around the hat, they don't have a choir. You basically meditate. So as a consequence, I had things happen to me that correspond to the Hindu religion. And I had where I experienced Kundalini, where I rock back and forth. And when I meditate, even now, if I'm sit back and close my eyes, or when I actually meditate, I see the color purple.
Well, do you know what, Mike?
In my mind's eye.
It was Nano Girl that told me that if I'm ever needing protection, or I feel like I need some kind of field around me, she told me to visualize a purple flame, almost a purple bubble around me. Now, I believe that purple does have some protective actual qualities to it. I'm no expert in all of this, but Joe, Popeye, Marty, probably you're the best one to go here. Have you heard of anything like that before? Colours?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like the whole aura phenomenon, and you can actually train your eyes to see people's auras and stuff like that. And they say it's kind of like, you know, these mood rings, even though I don't believe that they actually work. Your colour changes depending on how you're feeling. There's all sorts of speculation on the internet saying, you know, what the different colours mean and stuff like that. But I have seen it myself. Sometimes purple, sometimes kind of a greeny yellow. Yeah, definitely something to it.
People's auras, definitely, Marty. There's definitely a lot to that. Popeye, your take on that, man?
I believe in auras. My late wife used to be able to see them. She used to be able to read people based on them. And I know a friend of mine who I like to jokingly refer to her as a Greek witch. And she could read auras like crazy. And she was pretty accurate, and she could judge somebody based on the color of their aura, and she was never wrong about whether or not they were, you know, good or bad, you know, if you wanted to break it down into that simple.
And that ties into what we were talking about earlier on. We were saying about how we only capture such a small portion of the light spectrum. Well, obviously somebody like that, Popeye, in my mind, it's almost as if they're open up to just a little bit more of the frequency. They see just that little bit beyond the veil.
Well, what if we're all capable of that?
I think we definitely are, Popeye.
It's just the
yes.
programming and all the crap that they give us from the time we're kids. Because when, you know, how come little kids, without fail, 9 times out of 10 can see things that adults can't? And I mean all kids.
Because
why is that?
Because their toothpaste probably has slightly less fluoride in. No, I'm only joking.
Oh, excellent. You're probably right.
Because
ahead,
when
John.
they're little children and they wake up in the middle of the night crying because they've seen a lady in their room or they saw something, the parents come rushing in and try to console them. It's natural. And usually the parent will say, "Oh, you were just dreaming, sweetheart. Go back to sleep. You didn't see anything." And so then they train their mind to block that stuff out.
Yeah, they condition people, basically, isn't it?
That's a very good point, because they do say children are more susceptible to these sorts of experiences. My little boy's had almost like he's watching something flying around the room, and then one time like he was talking to something that wasn't there. I know people say kids have got great imaginations, but really, is it just that they've not had the programming that we've had as adults?
Well, this is a very good point. And you know, Mike, that was an absolutely fantastic call. Meat Dog out in the chat. Give him a big shout out, folks. But we're going to have to move on because we've actually got calls backing up here now. The next one I'm going to go to, it says Harris. George, I'm hazarding, I guess it's probably George Harris. Welcome to the show, man. How's it going?
Hi, gang. This is Francis in North Carolina.
Hey, welcome to the show.
Hello. As far as the colors is concerned, the purple is a high spiritual vibration color as far as that goes. As far as the haunting situation goes, I know when I was in my early, mid, late 20s or whatever the case was, I happened to live in a building that was haunted at the time when I was there. And quite simply, I didn't know it until I got visited during my sleep. And when I finally realized what was going on, I ended up having to just simply put my foot down. I said, okay, folks, if you want to be here, that's fine. Just don't do anything funky, and we can live harmoniously or whatever. Otherwise, I'm going to kick your tail out. Get it? Either be nice and play nice, or you're out of here, and I'll send you on to your next lifetime. And that was it. After that, it was very quiet. And I wasn't a gal that would put up with anything at that time. Not that I do now.
And do you think they were attached to the building, Francis, or do you think they were actually following you?
Actually, I think that it has something to do with an activity they were doing there in the building before I ever got there. And I just happened to be receptive enough. Well, I'd always been spiritually or psychically, intuitively receptive to various things like that to start with. And so apparently they were drawn to that energy that I was projecting, and so they said, hey, we need to communicate with you. And I thought, oh, great, now what? So
You're absolutely right. You have the living have dominion over the spirit world. Sometimes when a spirit entity will inhabit or come into my home and cause a little bit of chaos, especially what they call a trickster, cause a little bit of chaos, you just order them out. Be stern with them. Put some feeling into them. Get the hell out. Don't come back. Go over to the neighbor's house. Bother him. And 9 times out of 10, they actually will leave. You don't give them any response because they feed on fear. They feed on chaos and frustration. Just get out. You're not welcome here. Go someplace else, and they will actually leave.
You're absolutely right, Johnny. It's kind of like turning that fear around to almost like an anger. And even I found that just saying it in your mind, get the hell out, not tonight, go away, sort of thing. And in a sense that you're not scared of it. You have control over it, and it just goes away.
True. I just didn't send them on to their next evolution. Let it be done with. Y'all have a great one.
Thank you
so much for the
very
call.
much. That was
You too.
perfect. And she wasn't actually that far away from you, Joe, I believe. Bit of a local call for you there. But,
Yeah.
we've got another call on the line. And this one, a place that I really do love in the States. Quite close to Popeye, I imagine. This is from Tampa. So, welcome to the show, whoever is out there in Tampa.
Yeah, I would imagine I am pretty close to Popeye. I'm sure we know some of the same people. Robert Veer, John Costello, Ledger. Same
Yeah,
good conversation. I used to work the show.
That's better. Cool. Yeah, you were a little quiet there, but we can hear you better now. Carry on.
No, my bad. I had you on speaker. Is this better?
That's much better.
Hello? I mean, listen, I got like a quick story and a question, and maybe even an upcoming caller can help with it. There's been a few times that I should probably be dead, and I feel like there was intervention. I was hit by a car, flew about 15 feet, on a bicycle. My freaking bike was trashed, and in midair, I felt like I didn't see anything. Last thing I saw was hitting the windshield, and I didn't see anything. I wasn't knocked out.
Well, I think we've lost the caller there.
I was just like, did I drop?
Me too. Yes.
No, we lost the caller. Sorry about that, man, but seems to have lost that one, guys. But anyway, I don't really... Did we get enough of the call there to answer that?
Not really. Call back, man, if you're still there.
Let's see if they're still there. No, they've dropped off completely. But Johnny King, you were acting as a bit of a helpline there, man. That sounded like pretty wise advice. Have you ever been through that kind of thing, John, yourself?
No. Johnny's he's a novice. Don't, John, really, come on.
Come on, John,
Yes.
regale us with some of your finest stories.
Oh, come on. Hit him good with it. Give him a good one.
Oh, let me see.
Well, there was this one
Oh,
time
when
when I was out
when
by
my
the
son-
fire with my Merlin hat and my chicken foot.
When my son was born, well, I'll go back a little further. When I was a little child, so many eons ago, I was laying in bed, and I remember waking up in the middle of the night and seeing a blue woman, only from the waist up, long hair flowing, what looked like almost like a hood that would be a druid's hood, and the robe, and she stood beside the bed, and she was very loving and comforting. And she told me that I would achieve things in life that a normal person wouldn't achieve. I'll put it that way. Flash forward to, maybe it was 15 years ago. My son was in his room, and he was supposed to have been sleeping. He came in the middle of the night, he came into my wife and my room and woke us up and told me and my wife that he saw a blue woman in a robe with a hood up standing beside his bed, and she was talking to him.
No.
My wife freaked out. I'm like, oh, cool. What'd she say? Go back to bed. She's not going to hurt you. I've seen her. I know her. Go back to bed. So he went back to bed, and that was that. I figured it was the same woman. Generational type of thing.
Whoa.
Wow. That's what I mean. There's so many stories and things that you hear from people. It can't all be fake and made up, guys.
You want to hear something? I'll share something with you about Joe knows this. About a month and a half after Marseille died, a friend of mine who is as I said, I have a friend who I like to joke, and I refer to her as a Greek witch, but she's very much in touch with that ability. She doesn't do it for a living or anything.
The
like this,
Oracle.
Yeah. She would have been an oracle back in the day. Anyway, she never got a chance to meet Marseille at all, ever. She didn't know her, and in fact, I had fallen out of contact with her for a couple of years. Just life had gotten so busy and hectic and everything, right? And we had only recently, right before Marseille died, started talking again. Like, bumped into each other on Facebook randomly, and it was like, oh, I haven't seen you in forever. But and it was like I haven't talked to her since yesterday. So she didn't get a chance to meet her. She didn't know her. She hadn't gotten unfortunate, but she never got a chance to meet her. So she's doing a reading for me one night, and at the end of the reading, out of nowhere, and this is one of the reasons I have it tattooed on the side of my throat. She says to me, she said, I keep getting this thing that and I was at this point I was devastated. I couldn't even contemplate coming back on air ever, right? And Sarah said to me, she said, I'm supposed to give you a message. I'm supposed to pass something to you. It gives me chills just thinking about it. And she said to me, she said, does this make any sense? And she couldn't have known this. Okay. She didn't know Marseille. She didn't know what her favorite expression was. Marseille's favorite quote was, be the change you wish to see in the world. The quote from Gandhi. Well, she said to me, I'm supposed to tell you and tell me if this makes any sense, but I keep hearing, be the change, be the change, be the change. Does that make any sense to you? And all the hair on my arms was standing up. Now, I was talking to her on the phone. She wasn't even doing this in person. I didn't pay her any money. This wasn't a scam. It was me and her talking, and she decided to give me a reading. And I didn't give her, she couldn't have known any of this. There was nothing I fed her. Trust me, I know how to be impartial during a reading.
No,
okay?
I know what you're saying, man. You get those shysters out there, but that one, that definitely does sound like a genuine one. Now, Popeye, we've got heaps of callers backing up here. And, we've got one special caller on the line as well. But I want to go back to Tampa first to let Tampa try and finish the call we were making. And I urge the other callers to please stay on the line, even if it goes through the break. And there's a very special caller coming from Austin, Texas. So stay tuned for that one. But first off, let's go to Tampa. Are you back with us?
Hey, is this better? I'm Landline Willie.
Oh, hey, much better.
That does sound much better, caller. I think you were talking about some sort of divine intervention and an accident experience that you had when you got cut off. If you could just get back into that before the break.
Okay, there's been a couple incidents where I should probably be dead. When I was a teenager riding my bike, I was crossing a busy intersection. I got hit by a car, flew about 15 feet. Last thing I saw was the windshield, and I didn't see anything. I wasn't knocked out or anything, but I landed about 15 to maybe 18 feet in front of the car, and I was stopped in midair and set down lightly. I was sitting Indian style when I opened my eyes. All this stuff took about 2 or 3 seconds, and I was stopped and set down, very, very gently. I got up and pretty much walked away. My bike was trashed. And another time I worked with heavy equipment, high lift cranes, and I had a section of a boom. Anyway, it's a bunch of big pipes, and I was, pulling on it, and it slid off the horses it was on, and it basically crushed me. The only thing that, basically saved me from either being, completely paralyzed from the neck down or just dead altogether. The thing probably weighed about 10,000 pounds, was just a little tiny corner of that thing stayed on the horse. and it's just amazing. I mean, as soon as I, was able to squeeze out of it, it just fell. And I don't know, it just seems to me that there was intervention there. I don't know if you guys have any experience of that, or maybe another caller, may know something about this, or am I being protected? And if I am, I mean, is there a way I can find out why?
Some would say if you're not meant to go, you're not meant to go. I know that doesn't make sense to a lot of the horrible stuff we see in the world, but you could have someone or something watching out for you in that other realm. It's not impossible.
I would say that
the second.
I would have to say that everything happens for a reason, and there's a purpose for everything. And I would have to say that there are certain things in your life that you must fulfill. If you don't fulfill them, things come around full circle, and you go through these loops until you complete what you're supposed to do. And at that point in time, in your destiny, so to speak, whatever it was you were supposed to do, no matter how great or how small, was not done yet.
Well, the break is coming up, so Tampa, I forgot your name there, man. I'm going to have to let you go, though, and I am going to keep the phones on during the break, so the callers that are on there now, you will stay connected, and please, we urge anyone else out there to phone in as well. This is going to be absolutely fantastic stuff. Marty, some of the calls we've had so far, I know you are a big fan of putting the phone lines on, man.
Oh, absolutely. It's really what makes talk radio for me. I've always loved AM talk radio as a kid, and there's nothing great like that anymore in the UK. It's all crap. But
that's how you started off, man, was it not? You used to phone into shows?
Yeah, but more like alternative media and stuff like that.
Yeah, but still, it's...
I'm never on the AM or FM or anything like that, but I am looking forward to our next caller after the break, guys.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be fantastic, live from Austin, Texas. We shall leave it there. We've got so much more to discuss tonight, guys, apart from the callers. We've got UFOs. Joe, I'm sure you've got some biblical prophecies and giants to go into. Times of Noah stuff.
Actually, since we're talking about UFOs, can we talk about something we always forget?
What's that?
The Black Knight satellite.
Oh, dude.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I will actually get the message that another Scotsman, actually received from the Black satellite.
Oh.
Duncan Noonan was his name. Stay tuned for that, folks. We're going to be going out to the break. And remember, we want your calls. 866 37 Truth or 866 37 87884. Please call in now.
You must unite what has been set asunder.
We are TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
Wanna know, are you true? Can you woo, 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 woo? They don't thug it like I do. Can you woo, 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 woo? I wanna know, are you true? Can you woo, 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 woo? They don't run this like we do. Can you woo, woo, woo?
Is it true? Is it deja vu? Is it you? Can I come through and kick it with you? Can we woo, woo, woo? Snip a little ooh, ooh.
Welcome back to Freaky Friday, right here on your number one alternative media network, www.truthfrequencyradio.com. We have got 1 hour to go of the Freaky Friday. The first 2 hours have flown by. It has been fantastic. It has been fun. At times, I have been absolutely scared shitless. Absolutely. And we've been going to the callers, and this next caller that we have got coming up, I can't honestly believe this. I'm going to be introducing to the show the one and only Scottish John from Austin, Texas. How are you doing, man?
All right, Kev. How the hell did you know it was me?
Because, you see, I am that good, John. I can just tell, see? Technology. I'm impressed, pal. I even heard you on Clyde Lewis almost almost plugging the Kev Baker show. And, you know, if I was over in Austin, Texas, I'd give you a good kick in the butt right now for not plugging the network on there, man. Next time you're on Clyde Lewis, definitely plug TFR, John.
Aye, well, you know what the problem is, man. You're on hold for so long before you get on air, you even bloody forget who you are, you know. And what radio show you called up.
This is
but,
brilliant.
I'll bear that in mind.
This is brilliant having you on the show, John. Absolutely brilliant. And I mean, a lot of the people out there might be some people who don't know who you are, but you've appeared a couple of times on the Alex Jones show, and you've even actually made one of the adverts for InfoWars as well, so you've become kind of infamous for that Scottish twang of yours.
Oh, God almighty, it's like that old country song, I'm a legend in my own mind,
And you know, I was kind of telling the guys during the break that yourself and Johnny Whistles here, maybe you'll regale us of stories when you were fighting with the Bruce against the English.
My family fought with Bruce. They fought with Wallace. They fought with Rob Roy McGregor. They couldn't get on with anybody.
So, John, how is it for a Scotsman living over in Texas? How do you get on over there? How did you end up over there, man?
I came to Austin, Kev, because I was into country music.
Cool. And, so I take it you never made it to Nashville, man, no?
Well, actually, here's what it was. I was going to go to Nashville on a holiday one year there in the early 90s. And my bass player in my band in London said, no, don't go to Nashville, go to Austin, man. So I came to Austin and liked the place. And then I decided to come back and stay here. Sadly, it ain't the town it used to be. I mean, it's just, we're getting overrun with Californians and the place has gone down the bloody toilet.
Yeah, it seems to be going that way. That seems to be across the board in America. Now, this being Freaky Friday, John, I'm hoping that you phoned up here with some right good creepy stories for the listeners. Take it away, man. Lead us into some.
Well, actually, it's here's Silver Fox dude was born in Falkirk. Are you kidding me? I just read that on the screen. I'll be damned. I've got a wee ghost story for you. It's not a scary story, but seeing as how you've been talking about it, it's just a personal experience. So if you'd like to hear it.
Well, definitely, John. Definitely, man.
Yeah, all right. It was, before I forget, Marty, where are you from?
Just outside Manchester, north of England.
Whereabouts? Exactly.
Yeah, not far from there.
I don't think he wants to divulge his location, John. He's scared in case NSA or GCHQ get him, I think.
Probably Mossad, but that's another story.
I used to live in Altrincham in the 1970s.
Wow.
Yeah. If you're not going to tell me, then all right.
He's not giving it away at all, John.
He's not divulging that.
You daft apis. I'll go take foot of our bloody stairs, you daft apis.
That's the thing, you see. It's a small world, and we do have some trolls out there. So I'd say, truthfully, though, about 10, 15 miles from city centre of Manchester, towards the hills. That's all I'll say.
All right, okay. Anyway, so I've gone to London there, like about 1986 or something, and there's a boozer up the end of the street called the Mitre. It's just behind the headquarters of the English FA, and they had a wine bar downstairs. And I met a guy next door to Glasgow, and we became pals, and we're down there drinking, and there was a wee girl from Liverpool had just come to London, and she was working in there as a barmaid, and I think there was somebody else who's pretty new as well. And somebody had a camera and decided to take some photographs. So we got the photographs back to the chemist the next day, and we're going through them, and hell, there's one it looked like it had been printed right, and you would think that looks like a bloody ghost there, but I didn't believe but anything like that in them days. Anyway, time passed, and we kind of decided to go upstairs and drink in the main bar, because all they sold downstairs was that Stella Artois, and you have 2 pints of that, you're on your arse, you know. So it was a kind of short night. So we're upstairs and getting to know the locals over time, and there was a wee woman like in her 60s there, and you could tell that when she was young, she must have been real good looking, because she was a good looking woman for her age. And we got to find out about her. Her name was Jackie. And when she was young, during wartime, she was a model, and they used her as a sort of cartoon character in one of the newspapers, for the troops. And come to find out that her husband had a heart attack and dropped dead in the wine bar downstairs. And he didn't haunt the place, but he was obviously there, because you got to hear stories in when they put Christmas decorations and that up, they would react as if there was a strong wind blowing through the place, So that was that. Am I still on the air?
Yeah, I got you. I don't know where everybody else
Yeah,
went.
I'm still here, man. I just couldn't actually, for some reason, it wasn't letting me talk there, man. That was a bit weird. Something's happened to Skype. Is everyone else still there, yeah?
Yeah, I'm here, Kev.
Yep.
Well, John, I'm going to have to get you back on Kev Baker's show one night for sure. Get you on for a show as a guest. How does that sound,
Absolutely, mate, yeah.
That sounds
Yeah,
absolutely...
listen, I'm on Facebook, I'm John Daisley.
I've got you on there, man. I knew that was you. See, I'll get that arranged for sometime real soon, John. But thanks a lot for phoning up tonight, man.
All right.
So I think have we got any other callers on the line? Yes, we do. We've got Kevin from Minnesota. Take it away.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you very much for taking my call. I wanted to step back in time, if I could. Earlier, you guys were talking about the spirits and Native American and the burial grounds. In St. Paul, Minnesota, they have a bunch of burial grounds up on the cliffs along the Mississippi River. Excuse me. But if you would like, I'd like to share a ceremony that I went to, that I was blessed to be at, and the experience. My British ancestry side will not and cannot comprehend what happened. If you guys would like me to share.
Yeah, go for it, buddy. Nice one.
Well, I went to this ceremony. It's called a shaking tent. Some people call it a uwipi. And real quick, I apologize. Bujuanin Nesewe Widangenigo Ojibwe Kawababikaniga Indunjiba. I just wanted to throw that out there because I didn't want to insult any spirits at all. But it's called a shaking tent ceremony, where they have a little altar area, you could call it, and they take the elder, gets tied up in a quilt, and then he lays on the ground, and then he starts singing a song and stuff, and they shut off all the lights. And we were in this roundhouse that was maybe about 25 feet in diameter, and he's in the center of the room. And because I'm in a wheelchair, I'm backed up against the wall in the north side of the place. And at this point, I could see. So the gentleman in the center is singing songs and stuff, and all of a sudden, you start hearing his voice like echoing, like almost like somebody was singing with. Someone was singing with him. And then you started hearing clicks and pops. And then you started seeing like orbs. And I get really emotional talking about this. I apologize. But there was these orbs just going from one end of the room to the other, but it looked like they were going beyond the perimeter of the walls. Like it seriously felt like I was in
like the walls, like the walls had depth, if you would.
Right. And then some of the children all of a sudden started crying. And then all of a sudden a voice said some stuff in Lakota, and the children just stopped, and then they started singing these other songs, and then all of a sudden you hear almost like a cry of an eagle, and you start hearing flappings of wings. And then all of a sudden, right behind me, it literally felt like wings brushing on my back and over my head. And then it went away, and then it came back maybe 30 seconds later, back on the other side. you know, and at the whole time, this elder in the middle would be calling out these animals, and you would hear, and it's just amazing. And you know, I'm trying to think of these lights in the sky, and I'm like, okay, there's certain minerals that glow if you add another mineral, you know, but all of a sudden you would see it, and it was a crowded room. There was probably about 40, 50 people in this little area, all sitting in 2 rows all around the parameter of it, with the gentleman in the inside. At the end of the ceremony, the gentleman was untied, the blanket was folded up, and the rope was absolutely perfectly wrapped on itself. Perfectly. Like,
Whoa.
I mean, like straight on up to the nose, up on point, gentlemen, as ex-military. We're talking up to and touching.
Wow.
It was folded, and this rope was like that. And it was the most, I mean, I was crying during the ceremony. It was pretty powerful. And this is the thing that we get we forget about this, like you guys were talking about. We forget that there's a world going on right next to us.
And you know,
But
we
it
were
does get a
talking
little creepy
earlier on,
if you think
Kev,
about
about
it.
we were talking earlier about Indian burial sites, and we were kind of throwing about out there that maybe they regarded them as being sacred because of things like ley lines. Do you know anything about why they regard some ground as being sacred and some not?
Here's your woo. Because of the 1978, when they came up with the Native American, what was it called? I just gapped about the sacred site. It was a sacred site law. I can't remember what it was called, but they passed a law that you could no longer disturb those mounds. And the reasons why it is because when you dig deep enough, you'll find the bones of the giants.
Oh, that's a good point.
They found a lot of them. I mean, they've got a ton of evidence to support this, especially down in South America, guys. The big elongated skulls that they found, that they've recently done DNA testing on. You can check out L.A. Marzulli. He's done a lot of work on that, and the DNA just doesn't match human DNA. It's different.
Yeah, so they could literally say, oh, you can't do anything there. That's sacred ground. Don't touch it. And who knows what's really lurking underneath.
Exactly. Very interesting stuff.
Could I throw ISIS out there at you guys for a second?
Oh, please do. Anything ISIS. Throw it my way.
Okay. What did ISIS create? The phallic, the obelisk, okay? The Washington Monument, the largest obelisk or penis, I think, in the world. Actually, it is the largest obelisk, whose total height equals 666. The part on top of the ground is 555 feet. The base structure that supports the weight of it is 111 feet, for a total of 666 feet tall. Now, if you look at an aerial view, if you think of an aerial view, you have that sundial. Now, if you start watching the shadow of the obelisk and watch the temples that it touches, when at the winter's equinox, the shadow was passing through the penis was passing through the Oval Office and penetrated the Oval Office, and the tip stopped where? What is the buildings north of the Capitol? The first Masonic temple.
Whoa.
You really couldn't make this stuff up.
And of course, all these temples usually have rooms dedicated to Egypt and ISIS and things like that.
Right. Now, I'm blind, gentlemen, so I need you to because I'm asking other people to validate, because, you know, you hear things from other people. Okay. I think we need to find out where at the equinox that phallic symbol is going to be pointing at, because I think because everything's about symbology, and they're telling us. but they're making us dig for it. You know, because I think there's a universal law that says you can do whatever you want to somebody, but the minute they say stop, like Mr. King was saying earlier about like with spirits and stuff, when you talk to them with sternness and without fear and try to come from love, that's power. Because that's the two powers, love and fear. And it's easy to get somebody to fear you because because it's harder to get somebody to love you. It's easier to have someone fear you because you have to actually love somebody in order to get them to love you back. And so it's easier to be tyrannical or, just, you know what I mean, gentlemen. But yeah, if you guys could look up that Washington Monument thing for me, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're on it.
Because
yeah, we will definitely look into that, Kevin. It sounds quite fascinating, and I know for a fact the thing with the measurements there and the 666-555 is an actual fact. I've seen.
I was going to back you up on that, Marty. I mean, it's one of those monuments that people will look into, and it's not just those numbers. There's a lot of other quite startling numerological coincidences, will I say, that pop up not only in that monument, Joe, but around the world. And, a quick shout out here just now. One of the listeners there, 2 secs, I got my Facebook, Michelle.
While you're looking that up, I just want to say that that it's law in D.C. They cannot build a building taller than the Washington Monument.
Is that true?
Yep.
Wow.
The Washington Monument, by law in D.C., is the tallest building.
Wow. Well, that is something for not just us to actually look into, but all the listeners out there as well. If you want to help Kevin with that little task, that'd be absolutely fantastic. But as I was saying there, one of the listeners just got in touch with me. Michelle, big shout out to you, Freaky Friday listener. We love all of yous out there. But she has sent me a couple of photographs. Now, the first one zoomed out, and it's obviously a family photograph. They're sitting around a table, and they've got blinds in the background. Now, a portion of the blinds, even before I seen the zoomed-in version, above one of the people's heads in this photograph, you do see the blinds, Joe. They're like the vertical blinds that hang down the way. You can see the gaps in between all the blinds quite fine. And then there's one portion where it's almost all one blurred together. And then Michelle zoomed in on that, and it's really quite strange. Now, hopefully, Michelle, you don't mind me sharing the photos with the guys in the Skype call here to show them. I won't put them in the chat room, obviously. But, yeah, definitely strange stuff. So the listeners out there, we might say this is woo and all the rest of it, but it's definitely resonating with people tonight. And it's great when we've got people like Johnny King here as well. When people can phone in, people like Michelle, anyone else out there who's got questions on this kind of topic. And between the, 5, 6 of us, I'm sure one of us will be able to give you some bit of advice. But, Michelle, don't worry too much about that. And I see you've even said that somebody's told you it's some kind of spirit angel or something like that. I've kind of lost it now. But, yeah, who knows? All these things can't be bad, Joe. There must be good ones as well.
There has to be. Absolutely. I think Joe's just stepped away there, but there has.
Sorry about that, Joe. I just read the chat there, Marty.
Yeah, it's got to be, dude. I mean, whatever exists probably in this realm, good, bad, whatever, if it goes on, then the good and bad part of it goes on too. And that's probably where you get all the bad experiences from with Ouija boards and so-called, possessions and stuff like that. Who knows? It could really be, but I don't think that takes away from the fact that there must be good out there too, although the religious community doesn't want you to really look at it. But I think there's something more to it. You've just got to go into it with an open mind and not be scared and really understand that you have power over that, at least in this realm anyway.
Yeah, there definitely is, Marty. Even going back to a couple of calls ago when the guy had that many accidents, and yet he's still here. There's something watching over him. And I thought what John King said was amazing about that, where he says there's a task that you have to do that you haven't performed yet. I think that's a great way to look at it as well.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Do we still have John and Popeye with us on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, I am.
What do you guys think? You think there's something to this then, from our discussion this evening?
Of course I think there's something to it. You'd have to be ignorant to say that it doesn't exist, or it's all tomfoolery, or it's demons. It's demons, I tell you.
Have you ever heard anything about these guardian angel types, Popeye, anything like that? Because it's usually the bad entities that I focus on. But these good ones, is there any way we can tap into that kind of thing?
Actually, I've heard of stuff like, I heard an interesting story. And I can't remember, this goes back a long time, but a young lady was down. She was walking home from work one night. I think she was a bartender, and she was walking home, and she had to walk down like this like dark kind of like alley to get where she was going. And there was these two guys there, and she just got this really bad feeling. Or there was one guy there, and she got this really bad feeling, and like. She walked past him, and the guy didn't mess with her, and she kept going, but she just had this really bad feeling about him. And it ends up some other woman went down the same alleyway, and this guy ended up raping her. Long story short, supposedly, and I don't remember how, but this woman, she found out, whatever, and they asked, she somehow was able to, get to speak to this guy, and she asked why she hadn't been raped and why the other girl after her had, and he said because there were two big dudes that were walking with her, and she was by herself, but he saw two big. He described them as like like they were wearing. They were intimidating looking, but they were wearing like lighter clothing, almost giving off that sense of light versus dark, right? And supposedly he said that he saw these two guys with her, these two big, imposing-looking figures, and he just got the idea that he should not screw with her, and he left her alone. He didn't want to mess with her. Now, if that's true or not, I don't know. But, I mean, there's it sounds like an episode of a guardian angel type story to me, if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, definitely, Popeye. Johnny King, your take on guardian angels?
I've spoken to a few Christian missionaries in my time, and one that sticks out that I remember. Missionary was going into South America to spread the good word, so to speak, and they came across a tribe that was isolated and a bit hostile. The members of the warrior members of the tribe actually drew their weapons on the missionaries as they broke into camp, and they froze mid-state, didn't move. It was almost as if they became blocks of ice. Long story short, most of them were converted to Christianity. The same missionary went back there 10 years later, and he asked the chief, "You had us dead to rights. Why didn't you kill us?" And the chief said, "Around you, men in white robes appeared, and they aimed their arrows at us. We were outnumbered. We have never seen that before. And in seeing that, we realized your God was greater than our God, and that is what caused us to convert to your religion."
Whoa.
Great story, man.
Well, we're almost up on the break again, guys. We've got one segment to go. Where are we going with this now, Popeye? I know you've always got plenty to talk about, man.
Oh.
No? Nothing? Crickets?
No. He fell asleep at the wheel, dude. He's out. Out cold. Woo, 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 woo.
I don't know. I'll leave you guys to go to the toilet for 1 minute. You leave a collar hanging
Isn't
with
it
dead
crazy,
air.
man? I tell you what.
Popeye, he's just not... He's decided to join us again.
Oh, now
Popeye,
he's back.
Thank you, man.
Oh,
Whoa.
hi.
I had to go take care of an emergency.
Right.
My cat just took something out in the other room. I had to run into. I heard this loud smash, and I'm like, either someone's breaking in.
Right, wait a minute. Now, Joe's cat just smashed
That
something
is,
as well.
dude, don't even tell me that, because Not 3 minutes ago, my cat goes and knocks a freaking glass off the counter in the kitchen.
Oh, what have we started here?
Oh boy!
I have stuff that was Marissa was in the middle of unpacking. It's sitting in the living room, and it hasn't moved, nothing. And I was actually going to start putting it away, and I was sitting in here, and all of a sudden I hear stuff like I knew exactly what it was, and I was like, I thought someone was breaking in. I ripped my headset off, and I.
The Kev Baker Show, Monday through Friday on True Frequency Radio.
I'll stand tall in the face of tyranny. I want it all my freedom and liberty. I'll keep my guns, you can keep your security. I'll stand tall in the face of tyranny. I'll stand tall in the face of tyranny. I want it all my freedom and liberty. I'll keep my guns, you can keep your security. I'll stand tall in the face of tyranny.
Welcome back, everybody. It is the final segment of Freaky Friday. Damn, guys, this has been just a blast. Having to, this is one of those topics that you could probably do infinite Freaky Fridays on. And it just never gets old.
I think we've started something here. I mean, you were showing us a video during the break, Joe. Popeye's cat's going mad. If anyone
Weird.
else's
Holy woof. Okay, so let me give you the... Okay, so anyway, my wife sends me a Facebook thing of this. I like the thug life, right? So this cat, right, big puffy face cat, is pushing the glass of water off the coffee table slowly, and just before he does, he looks over at his owner who's filming him because apparently this cat's done it many times, and like looks at him and like, oh yeah, oh, kind of like. Gives it like the little paw a little bit, and then and looks right at him, and then thug life. And so 10 minutes after that, then my cat in the kitchen knocks the damn glass off onto the floor, and then at the same time, Popeye's cat.
Oh,
I mean, what is going on here?
I just had to throw them out while you were talking.
Exactly.
Dude, the male, he's 16 years old, and you'd think he was a kitten. He paws at my door and makes a god-awful racket, and then I'll let him in, and he runs around the studio knocking things over and just meowing his head off. I'm like, dude, only when I'm on air. He doesn't do this when I'm off air. He only does it when I'm on air. It's like he knows.
Absolutely amazing. I think this conversation tonight has really sparked something. Ooh. But talking of all this crazy stuff, we had a video surfacing around the British media of some parents in Bridgend, Wales, who were filming their 1-year-old daughter, stood next to the TV, and she was just kind of stood there, and they were filming her and stuff with like a cartoon on in the background. And it's absolutely amazing when you watch this video. I'll put it in the chat, but it's as if something actually pulls her down. She didn't fall. Anybody that knows the mechanics of kids and stuff like that and how they move just knows that wasn't natural at all. And as she came tumbling down there, she said, "Naughty boy." And that's exactly what she says when she's talking to a cat, if it nips her or tries to brush past her. So, was it a ghost cat? Definitely something to it.
And Marty, I watched this video earlier on, and when I first watched it, I thought to myself, well, not much in that. The little kid just seems to take a little tumble backwards. But then when it is slowed down, it's quite phenomenal, the footage that is actually caught. It's almost as if somebody's placed their hands on the shoulders behind the kid and just ripped it backwards, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I've just put the link in the chat room there, and for Joe as well, because I don't think he's seen it. But yeah, it makes me...
You ever see Everard's Spirit World films?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, those are good films.
You ever see the video of, what is it? It's one of those palaces. It's not. I don't know if it's Buckingham Palace or if it's...
Pedophile Palace.
It's one of those palaces, and there's video, and you see these doors fly open, and then this, like, they slam shut, and then they fly open again, and this figure and what looks like old time dress walks up through the doors, and it's like security footage from when there was nobody there. It was, I guess in the middle of the night or whatever. But the doors fly open and then they slam closed and then they fly open again. And you see this like figure walking down. You see the doors, and it's like known to happen. I'm saying, dude, can you imagine if you could go to some of these places, like again, Balmoral Castle or Balmoral, however frick you pronounce it,
Balmoral.
Yeah, how about evil royal Satan worshipping?
You know what that's built on?
Pedo
don't you?
place.
You know what that's built on? A convergence of ley lines.
Well, see, now you can't say that the ley lines though are evil. It's just they take that energy and harness.
They're just
it
using
for
that
evil
energy
purposes.
for whatever purpose,
exactly,
right?
Yeah, exactly. But they know what they're playing with. They have that knowledge. They know exactly that science.
You know the spot where Diana died. That tunnel.
The ISIS tunnel.
Yeah, it just so happens to. By the way, they put the same flame that they put by Kennedy's, where Kennedy was killed. They put that same flame, that same symbolism,
like their card of death, isn't it?
Above the tunnel. Yeah, it's like their little haha, we did it. But that tunnel actually goes through an area that used to be an underground chamber where druids did sacrifices and ceremonies to the goddess Diana. And Diana just happens to die in that tunnel by hitting the 13th pillar. She hit the 13th pillar and dies in a tunnel that's in a spot that used to be an underground cavern that was used by the druids to do sacrifices to the goddess Diana. But hey, I'm a conspiracy theorist because I think there was more to it than just a simple car accident.
And Popeye, don't bother throwing into the mix the fact that Prince William, the one that will be king, he was ripped out of her belly on the morning of the summer solstice. Not on the due date, but just because it was the solstice. But nothing to see there either. But Marty, a lot of people give Lady Diana, Princess Diana, whatever you want to call her, they give her a bye. They give her quite an easy time for somebody that was attached to the royal family. And I have to point out that she was a very close friend and confidant of Jimmy Savile. And I didn't ever see Princess Diana coming out and outing him for his crimes at the time. Something that she, along with everyone else in that household, must have been well aware of. So, Lady Diana, I don't really have as much sympathy for her as everyone else seems to have.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. Still part of the elites, and that's pretty much all.
The lesser of two evils, Marty. It's still evil, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but I have to agree with Popeye there about that site where the accident happened and that being a sacrificial site. And then if you go to Harrods in London, actually look at the memorial for Dodi Al-Fayed and Princess Diana, and there's two pillars like the 11, there's a pyramid thing. Somebody's got a video of it up on YouTube. It was actually Rick Clay, God bless him, but they actually got that footage originally. And if you also look at Princess Diana's perfume, it was called Isis.
Ooh. Man.
Everard did a good film about her murder. Just saying, go watch it. It's called The Royal Assassination of Princess Diana or something like that.
I kind of like the way that you guys described the eternal flames, and just how they did the whole Diana thing, because it's kind of like pissing on the ashes of the person that you just.
Dude, it's totally they're teabagging the corpse.
Mean, exactly. What the hell? That's just it just goes to show you the level that you're dealing with there.
Dude,
it's bad enough.
She called it out. I mean, she told a friend of hers who later confided this to David Icke like 20 years ago. And I'm like, people can bash Icke for a lot of stuff, People's Choice BS and all that. But and you can make fun of him for the reptiles if you don't believe it. But I'll tell you what, he's been calling out Savile and Mountbatten and the royal pedos and all this stuff and Diana's murder for like 20 years.
Yeah, for years.
And now he's being vindicated with everything because it's out in the public. So just saying, I'm not saying he's perfect or anything like that. I don't idolize the guy, but obviously he's been saying this for 20 years. You can't say he hasn't. He's been, calling this stuff out. All this evil crap. So who knows? But Diana did say that he was going to kill her in a car accident. Charles.
That's because she had served her purpose. The minute she had given some DNA into
all
the
she was for.
Moonchild, who turns 33 this year, I believe.
That's all she was for. Was
Hope he doesn't have nightmares.
The inbreeding was getting too bad. That's why Charles pisses blue. I tell people this and they think I'm lying. He's got a disease that makes him pee blue. Look it up.
Get out of here.
You didn't know that?
I'm going to look right now.
Listen, he's also the guy that bought Vlad the Impaler's castle because he's like some kind of ancient uncle, Johnny King. What's that all about?
I think maybe he might be half Smurf.
I've heard of been blue-blooded, but never blue-pissed.
No, it's because it's like a blue tinge to the urine. It's something to do with like too close in the family or whatnot. It's actually like a medical condition, but he's got it. That's why Diana was introduced.
I believe it's a direct result of incest, Popeye.
Well, that's that. Like I said, inbreeding. I was being nice when I said it.
No, don't be nice about the royals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm actually getting a bit goosebumps here. Almost been nice about Diana. Really.
Well, no. Look. I'm not saying she was great and she was killed. I'm sure there was things that she knew that she should have said and she should have told people about that she didn't. Or she should have voiced her opinion. You know, you can't judge her though, Kev, because you weren't in her shoes. You don't know.
Listen.
Wait, hold on. All I'm saying is, I'm not defending her. All I'm saying is, you don't know how afraid for her life she was. So instead of us being judgmental of her, yes, she should have said more, especially considering her position of power. Who knows? Perhaps she was going to say more, and they knew that, and that's why she's dead. Did you ever think of that? Maybe she was. Look, I'm not defending her, but you never know. You know, you just never know. But
maybe I've got a biased
alive,
opinion. Maybe my opinion is tainted, Popeye, because you see, I was serving in the army at the time, and I remember returning home from the nightclub, with a pretty young lady on my arm, getting back to the barracks, turning on the television, and realizing that the next week of my life had just been turned into one living nightmare. You can imagine the amount of drill and parades that the army were doing that week. It was unbelievable. So maybe I am a bit tainted, maybe.
Well, no, you could. I mean, you already have like a negative, feeling assigned to it. Well, all I'm saying is when, Diana, I'm not trying to, she's not innocent. I'm sure there were things that she could have divulged or whatever. But the fact that they killed her, it's important to point that out and show people, because people think that the royal family, look at the love affair America has with them. When they got married, and America was like,
you remember that, dude?
Everybody. It was disgusting. I looked at people and I'm like, we fought a war. You do realize that. We fought a war.
It doesn't matter. We were allies.
Right? Here's my take on why I think they took her out. She was obviously getting very close to Dodi Al-Fayed at the time, and some people even say she may have been pregnant. Now, there is no danger that royal or not so royal family down in the paedophile palace would ever have allowed a day when a future king of England would have a half-brother or sister that was from Islam and also mixed race. That was never going to happen. And then you look at the fact that when the ambulance was taking her to the hospital, it was Christopher Everard's film. It's something like a 2-hour delay. And then they embalmed her straight away. Something that rendered any future test of whether she was or wasn't pregnant totally useless.
Unbelievable.
How convenient.
Man. Interestingly enough, you brought up the blue urine thing. George III also had what was called porphyria.
That's what it is. I couldn't remember how to pronounce it.
Porphyria.
Yeah, that's
okay. So porphyria, it includes aches and pains as well as blue urine. It is due to a genetic disorder. It's a genetic blood disorder
from inbreeding,
incest.
Bingo.
From inbreeding. Absolutely. George III, they call him the maddest, the madness of King George III. That's who lost America. It was in his madness. And let me tell you.
He was known as the king who peed blue. So
right.
Well,
Prince
you
Charles.
guys also have the prince that pisses blue.
No prince of mine, thank you very much.
He's no prince of mine either. We fought a war to get rid of that shit.
Perhaps it's more reptilian in nature. Maybe the reptilians piss blue.
How old is the queen?
98. I don't know.
She's 98?
No, she's freaking like 81. No, she's in her late 80s, isn't she?
Nah, I'd say probably late 70s.
No way. I'm looking. You guys suck.
No.
88, guys.
88. I knew it. 88. Okay. So she's old, but she's in good shape for a reptilian. I think they live.
David
they live longer.
Rockefeller has like 11 years on her, and he's still alive. So she'll probably be around.
Something is going to happen this year that is going to make her give up the throne, skip Charles, and make the Moonchild king.
Can I be honest with you?
As soon as she does that, she's going to take the zipper on the back of her head and unzip it and take her human costume off.
You know,
and she's going to
Martin,
be like, and it's just going to be like Diana from V when she tears her face off. It's going to be the same thing, except it's going to be the queen, and then she's going to immediately turn, and Charles is going to hand her a fresh baby, and she will devour it.
You know the funny thing. The Queen's 88, Prince Charles is 66, the Duchess of Cambridge is 33. And
Stop.
How old's the Prince going to be this year? 33.
33. Oh God.
The
Hey, let
thing
me.
The thing was, at the time of the London Olympics, and Marty probably knows better than me on this, it was Rick Clay that tipped me off to this year, 2015, because obviously 2012 he was going to be 30, and then he pointed towards the fact that 33 might be a key year. And I really do think that watch this space with that evil family this year.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to throw this out too now put yourself in an old bag reptilian position. You know, here you are, you're this old dying reptilian queen, and you know that your son has the same genetic disease that King George III had, right? Are you going to go and give the freaking throne over to him, or are you going to give it to, William?
That's what Diana was for. It was to fix the problem.
To fix the problem. That's right.
And he's been groomed since birth. Literally groomed since birth for that role. Moonchild that he is.
And all your women over there, even the women here, the American women, so that they swoon over. He's so dreamy. Can you imagine marrying a prince? Oh, would you like to imagine what it's like to marry one of the royal family? Well, let me tell you. First, they'd probably take you into some private back room. They'd make you witness them sacrificing a baby. They'd probably force you to drink its blood. And then you'd be raped by probably every member of the family as they shapeshifted back and forth from human to reptilian.
You see,
still want to go marry the prince, young ladies?
That's the power of the pedo mason Walt Disney and his princess and prince programming. Because all these young girls, they think they can go marry a prince and everything will be perfect, happy ever after. Oh, Prince William. Yeah, right. Get a grip.
Cujo just said that the queen looks more like she's 322.
That sounds about right, and she probably lies in a coffin and lets Philip piss on her. If that offends you, don't bother writing into Chris Geo. Go on head for the palace. They're actually doing it there, folks.
What about her husband?
Prince Philip, the man.
But what about that guy? He's just first of all, he looks like death. He looks like death came and visited him 15 years ago and just let him go.
Well, you know his most famous quote, or I can't actually get it word for word, but to paraphrase
he wants to be a virus.
Yeah, he wants to come back and kill off 95% of the population and do his part for humanity.
How has somebody that works there just not one day just been like, you know what? For the betterment of humanity, and just pushed him down a flight of stairs.
But he
Seriously.
is my guilty pleasure in that family, because see, whenever there's a microphone on him, which isn't very often these days because the Queen put a stop to that, the guy is comedy gold. He would have fitted in on the hanger like a glove on a hand.
Oh, he's like an offensive a-hole, dude. He just doesn't care. He speaks his mind.
Brilliant.
Could we get him on an episode of The Hanger?
Turned up in Africa and said, lots of blacks around here, isn't there?
The guy's absolutely vile.
But we're talking about maybe a new royal king in the UK. And for, over a year now on the Kev Baker Show, Marty, we've been covering one topic, and it is still going to give us lots more to talk about in the year ahead. And that's the blood moons. Now, surely if people look back on this era in history, blood moons and a new king, that would be historic, would it not?
Absolutely, and I was just doing a little check in there, searching for keywords, and there's actually a book on Amazon called Revealing a Blood Moon, a Royal Destination. So, intrigued to know what that's all about, but definitely they love the blood moons and their rituals, so who knows what they've got planned, folks. 2 more to go.
And the next one is coming up in April. And Joe, which feast or which celebration in the Jewish calendar does that one match up with?
Is it Passover, right? The one in May?
April.
Oh, in April. Yeah, that's Passover.
Oh, convenient. Season of sacrifice. Oh, look, a Christian Passover. The angel of death passes over, and if you put the goat's blood on your door, he won't take your firstborn. But if you don't, well, your firstborn dies. What does that sound like? Sacrifice. Oh, and it just happens to fall during the season of sacrifice.
Nothing to see here, Popeye. Come on, man.
What's the season of sacrifice? I'm going to actually have to just replay that show from last year at some point on a rebroad that I did with Passio about it.
It was on the other day on one of your rebroads during the day. I actually heard it. Yeah,
the season of sacrifice episode. That's a great episode. Like if you haven't heard that episode, just go to Federal Jack, type in go in the search bar, just type in Mark Passio season of sacrifice, and that episode of my show from last April should come up, and just listen to it. We break down the entire season and what's going on, and Mark gets into detail.
And being a good ex-Satanist like he is, I think in the next few weeks we should probably try and line up Mark. What do you think, Popeye? As we move towards April and May, Beltane and all of that.
I've already been working on it for the listeners, so he can come on for 3 hours. And wait till you hear him when he comes on. I'm going to have him describe the application he had to fill out when he joined, like, the dark occult, Satanism. The application he had to fill out, when he describes it and you listen to it, it was actually longer than the one that we had to fill out, Joe, when we joined the military. And we had like a 15 or 20-page application with a full-on FBI background check. And they had an FBI background check. Wait, what? The dark occult had an FBI background check? What? Ah, the connections run deep. Just remember that.
And Mark would probably be the one to ask about this, but we've got another astronomical event coming up very, very soon. Marty, you've just reminded me there. We're going to have an eclipse coming up on March the 20th. Now, Marty, you're saying that possibly power might go out. Now, I remember one back in the 80s, I think, and thankfully power didn't go out then, but at the same time, we weren't living in a world where there was a 4G Wi-Fi world round about us.
No, absolutely. That's what experts are saying anyway, that power supplies could drop suddenly when the UK is plunged into darkness. They're saying that nearly 90% of the sun's rays will be blocked out in parts of Europe on March 20th, and that it is the biggest solar eclipse since 1999. So I'm looking forward to that one.
And you mentioned Ike earlier on. Sorry, Johnny, but just quickly, it was Popeye mentioned Ike, and he was talking about the sun the other day. I believe it was one of his podcasts. And he was saying the importance of actually us being out in the sun and receiving that sunlight in our eyes. The information that's carried via the photons and all the light that comes from the sun, the information that is in that, I mean, we talk about the Matrix. Folks, that's probably one of the main places that this is coming from. But Johnny Whistles, eclipses, do you remember the last one, man? Or do you remember Halley's Comet?
Nice one, Kev. Actually, the last one, Kev, I slept through it and I didn't see anything. But they says at Glasgow, it'll be 94% in Glasgow.
John, I think I'd be more excited if they told me there'll be a 94% that we'll see the sun. What's the sun, man? It's something we only see on Soho.
No, I know, Kev.
You see, Popeye, we live under
suspicious observers just to see the sun every day.
You see, Popeye, you don't appreciate this, but myself and John and Marty, we usually live under a blanket of cloud, man. We don't get to see no eclipses here.
Oh, I know. I grew up in
Oh.
New Jersey, and in North Jersey, my mother said it's just like Holland is during the winter, which is the same way. The Netherlands is that blanket of like gray cloud. Every once in a while, you'll get a sunny day, but usually it's like dark and gray. And Jersey is like that about 75% of the time.
Popeye, you're a David Icke man like myself. You've read a lot of his stuff. That thing I was mentioning about the sunlight and how light can contain information, do you think he's going too far there? Because I certainly believe there's a lot in that. Just look at fibre optics. That is packets of light that carry the information from one computer to another. So, does light from the sun give us information that we need?
Light gives you information that you see visually. How do you read a computer screen?
Some very good points to end the show on, guys.
Wow, yeah.
How do you look at a computer screen?
And you know who we've got next week who can answer all of this? Wait for it, folks.
Dr. Richard Allen Miller.
It's
That's
Miller
right,
time.
Miller Time returns to TFR.
Oh, just wow.
I
Great.
cannot wait. You know, we've got Johnny Whistles this week, Miller Time next week, probably Passio the week after that. George
We can't
Norrie.
forget Johnny King.
Johnny King as well. George Norrie might as well go and hang up his tash. Coast to coast, it is done.
Oh, well. Thanks,
And
guys.
so are we.
Been awesome. Thanks to everyone in the chat room and everyone listening on the streams. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Look at you guys going all quiet again.
I know, yeah. We're not even out. We've got a minute left, guys. I think they thought that was the end of the show.
You know what,
No, I was actually being nice and letting like everybody else talk for a minute,
exactly.
But
You
know,
Popeye, you were letting people talk. But Marty, this all started the other night when we took over Popeye's show. The Brits we've taken over TFR. It's official, man.
The Brits? Did you just say the Brits?
that's their new name. It's not KBS anymore. We're just going to call their show The Brits.
The Kev British Show.
It was
I'd rather.
The Briss?
Better watch what you eating, cause you are what you eating. Everybody food generate thoughts as you speaking. Better watch what you drink, it affect what you think. God fluoridated water coming out of your sink. Better watch what you eating, cause you are what you eating. Everybody food generate
Yep, see you later, guys.
Yep. We'll see you later.